It was the first time that He Shi and the others had said that they were perverted. Moreover, they had a smug expression on their faces. They were indeed perverted. 4 hours passed quickly. One after another, people walked over from the depths of the valley. Some of them looked happy while others sighed. Jiao Shaoyan and the others also walked over. They did not look worried. It seemed that they had not found the 7-leafed hollow grass. Yun Chuzhou could not help but gloat in her heart. Damn it! It would be better if they could not find it. At this time, lightning started to appear sporadically. Everyone hurriedly ran out, afraid that they would be struck to death after a while. Yun Chuzhou naturally could not stay inside suddenly. This guy pretended to be interested in a piece of worthless spiritual medicine and dawdled there. Anfeng was very clear about Yun Chuzhou's tricks, so he cooperated and put on an act. Miss, 4 hours are almost up. You'd better hurry out. No rush, no rush. I'll take a look again. You guys go out first. Don't be boisterous next to me. It's annoying to hear that, Yun Chuzhou said impatiently. Anfeng pretended to be anxious and stamped his feet. However, Yun Chuzhou kept urging them to hurry out. Anfeng could only lead He Shi and the others to walk out, turning back 3 times with each step. He Shi and the others felt that if they did not know, they would definitely believe Anfeng's performance. This person was also a genius. Seeing this, Jiao Shaoyan could not help but twitch his lips. This stupid girl was really courting death. It would be best if she was struck to death by lightning. At this moment, the lightning suddenly became heavy. Everyone rushed out. Yun Chuzhou also stood up and followed behind them. Jiao Shaoyan saw that Yun Chuzhou was not far from him, and a hint of viciousness flashed in his eyes. He gave a signal to the triangular-eyed attendant beside him. Panda novel. The triangular-eyed attendant nodded knowingly and gave Yun Chuzhou a palm strike. San Jiaoyan. Yun Chuzhou could completely dodge, but she felt that she could use this opportunity to stay in the valley, so she pretended to scream and flew more than 100 feet away before fainting on the ground. Jiao Shaoyan looked back and could not help but smile sinisterly. This was the consequence of offending this young master. The old man naturally saw the situation here. He paused for a moment and then continued to escort Jiao Shaoyan out. She was just a little girl from the western continent. If she died, so be it. The rest of the people followed the principle that it was better to have less trouble than more trouble. Naturally, no one went to save Yun Chuzhou and allowed Yun Chuzhou to faint there. As soon as everyone left the Thunder Disaster Valley, the Thunder Disaster Valley was once again enveloped by heavy lightning. Everyone sighed and then left one after another. Anfeng and the others naturally had to put on a full show, so they asked anxiously, "Everyone, have you seen my lady?" Everyone's eyes flickered, afraid that they would offend Jiao Shaoyan, so they all said that they didn't know. San Jiaoyan's follower gloated, "That stupid girl tripped herself. She must have been struck by lightning." Ha! He Shi and the others immediately glared at him. If it were not for Anfeng pulling them, they would have gone up to San Jiaoyan and risked their lives. Anfeng could not help but sigh in his heart. The 9th Miss really had some skills. These people had not followed her for long, but they were all very loyal. The old man glared at San Jiaoyan, then said to Anfeng, "Your miss tripped over herself, and her head seems to have hit a stone. If you are worried, just go in and take a look." Anfeng cupped his fists at the old man, then said to He Shi and the others, "Wait here, I'll go in and take a look." He Shi and the others could no longer tell if Anfeng was acting or not. They nodded blankly and watched as Anfeng entered the Thunder Disaster Valley. In fact, the Thunder Disaster Valley's entrance was not too dense with lightning. If one's spiritual power was high enough, they could still escape unscathed if they entered for a short period of time. After Anfeng entered, he saw that Yun Chuzhou was skipping into the valley. Anfeng could not help but twitch the corners of his eyes. He knew that this little ancestor would be fine. Anfeng thought of an excuse and then retreated. He Shi and the others immediately surrounded him. How is it? Where's Miss? Anfeng let out a long sigh. I didn't find Miss inside. Could it be that Miss has been hacked into ashes? What? It's over. It's over. If I knew this would happen, I would have tied Miss up. He Shi and the others saw Anfeng's concealed gaze and heaved a sigh of relief. However, regret was written all over their faces. Anfeng was silent for a moment before saying, "That's not right. Even if Miss was turned into ashes, the ring would not be turned into ashes. Miss might still be alive. We will wait here. Miss will definitely come out alive." Jiao Shaoyan pursed his lips. He reckoned that after the guard entered, he did not take a closer look to save his life. That was why he did not find the stinky girl's storage ring. That stinky girl must have been struck by lightning. Many people had the same thoughts as Jiao Shaoyan. They all thought that Yun Chuzhou must have been turned into ashes by the lightning. They could not help but secretly rejoice. Fortunately, they came out in time. Otherwise, things would have been bad. The crowd discussed for a while and then dispersed. Anfeng, He Shi and the others were the only ones waiting outside the valley entrance. At this time, Yun Chuzhou was having a lot of fun. The purple heavenly lightning kept striking her body while she kept searching for high-level spirit herbs. Although everyone had picked them, there were still many precious spiritual herbs in some hidden areas of the valley. This Thunder Disaster Valley was really magical. The lightning could kill people, but it would not strike the spiritual herbs on the ground. Many spiritual herbs that had gone extinct outside could be found here. Yun Chuzhou let out Xiao Hanio and Xiao Mogu so that they could absorb some of the power of lightning. Xiao Hanio was struck until it burped continuously. It was not sure if it was an illusion, but it felt that after being struck, its body seemed to become lighter. Hence, it flapped its short wings and began to collide with the lightning. Seeing Xiao Hanio doing this, Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes. She took out a large copper basin from her storage ring and placed it on her head to absorb the silver lightning. Thus, the three perverts began to search for treasures while being struck by lightning. "Master, where do you think the lightning comes from? Why do you keep striking this place? Do you think there are any big treasures here?" Xiao Hanio stared at her with his bean-like eyes. Yun Chuzhi's heart moved. Xiao Hei's words made sense. There wouldn't be lightning gathering here for no reason. Perhaps there really was something good. Yun Chuzhou observed for a moment and realized that the more she walked in, the more lightning gathered. Perhaps the secret was hidden in the innermost part. The moment this fellow thought about the incredible treasures inside, he immediately lost interest in those high-grade spirit herbs. He kept Xiao Hanio and Xiao Mogu into his spirit beast pouch and then quickly jumped into the innermost part. As he ran, this fellow felt that the large copper basin was too troublesome, so he also kept the large copper basin into his storage ring. The more Yun Chuzhou ran inside, the more the lightning struck her, as if it was trying to stop her from entering. Yun Chuzhou could not help but twitch her lips. "Want to stop me? Dream on. Pan Dn0 Vel." Calm. This guy ran fiercely. She found that the deeper she went, the hotter it got. If she did not have the beads of the Guai Chao, she might not even be able to breathe. Finally, she could see the end of the valley from afar. It was a cliff that was as smooth as a mirror. Although the lightning was very dense, it didn't strike the cliff. It seemed that the purpose of the lightning was to prevent people from approaching the cliff. Then, what secrets were hidden inside the cliff? Yun Chuzhi's heart was pounding. A few words had appeared in her mind: divine beast, divine weapon, treasure map, handsome man. Xiao Hanio pursed her lips. The first three were okay, but what the hell was the last one? Handsome. If he was really handsome, the gigolo would definitely be jealous. At this moment, the heavenly lightning that fell from the sky was even denser, and almost all of them were purple. The purpose was obvious, and that was to stop Yun Chujio from approaching the stone wall. Yun Chujio did not take the thunder seriously at all. She hopped to the stone wall and felt the heat wave. She was even more puzzled. Why was the stone wall so hot? Could it be a volcano? Wasn't the volcano hundreds of kilometers away from here? Yun Chujio carefully observed the stone wall and did not find anything unusual. She used a rolling pin to knock it but did not find anything empty. It was really strange. Just as Yun Chujio was feeling puzzled, she noticed a small red dot in a corner of the stone wall. It might have sensed Yun Chujio's gaze, and that small red dot began to scuttle about inside the stone wall. Xiao Hong was stunned. What the hell was this thing? Was it a demon beast or a spiritual plant? No matter what it was, she had to let it out first. This thing was probably afraid of heavenly lightning and would not dare to hurt her even if she let it out. Yun Chujio raised the rolling pin and started to smash the stone wall. The heavenly lightning was clearly anxious, and it kept hacking at Yun Chujio, wishing that it could kill this guy. However, it was useless, so Yun Chujio smashed it even more happily. She didn't know what material this cliff was made of, but after Yun Chujio smashed it for a long time, she only managed to create a tiny crack. The guy blinked his eyes and retreated some distance away. Then, he took out the superior grade sudden crack talisman from his storage ring and threw it at the cliff. With the sound of cracking, cracks began to appear on the cliff, and some rocks began to fall off. Yun Chujio couldn't help but feel proud. Little guy, no matter how strong you are, I can still blow you up. Finally, after using up 2 sacks of the superior grade sudden crack talisman, a small hole appeared on the cliff. Yun Chujio moved closer to the hole and said slyly, "Little thing, you've been trapped here for a long time, right? Don't you want to go out and see the beautiful world? I'm the kindest person. I'm here to rescue you. Come, follow me. I'll definitely treat you well." The 4 in the spiritual beast bag looked at each other. The black-hearted master's old trick had started again. No one knew what was the unlucky thing this time. Xiao Hong did not move when she heard Yun Chujio's words. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and continued to say, "There are already holes here. If you don't follow me, when the heavenly lightning strikes, you will be dead." Xiao Hong still did not respond. Yun Chujio was furious. "Damn it, don't do it the hard way. If you don't come out, I will blow up the entire cliff wall. Anyway, I still have dozens of sacks of burst talismans." She didn't know if Xiao Hong was afraid or not, but she began to move towards the direction of the hole. Yun Chujio then realized that although Xiao Hong looked small, it was actually because Xiao Hong was in the depths of the stone wall. As it moved forward, its size became larger and larger. Yun Chujio was surprised to find that Xiao Hong was actually a cluster of dancing flames. Yun Chujio could not help but wonder, could a flame even turn into a spirit? There were so many strange things in the immortal Yuan continent, but it was useless to keep this flame. If she had known it was useless, she would not have wasted her time. She might as well have dug out a few more high-grade spirit herbs. Just as Yun Chujio was regretting her decision, the cluster of flames suddenly rushed into Yun Chujio's forehead. Lai Yen. Yun Chujio immediately felt a burning pain in her spiritual sense. She quickly sat down and began to look inside. Inside Yun Chujio's spiritual sense, it was like a market. Countless weapon spirits were hidden inside. The owner was naturally Yun Chujio's primordial spirit, a mini Yun Chujio. P.A.N.D.N.O.V.L. At this moment, the flame was crazily burning Yun Chujio's spiritual sense. Those weapon spirits were obviously very afraid of the flame, so they all curled up in a corner. At this moment, the silver dragon, the weapon spirit of the rolling pin, rushed in. Seeing that the flame was burning Yun Chujia's spiritual sense, it immediately pounced on it. Unexpectedly, the power of the flame was extremely great. Not to mention biting the flame, the silver dragon felt that its body was about to be roasted. "Little flame, come back. I will deal with it." Yun Chujio realized that the silver dragon was not a match for the flame, so she asked the silver dragon to come back. At this moment, due to the intense pain caused by the burning of her spiritual sense, both Yun Chujia's body and primordial spirit showed a painful expression. The burning pain caused by the spiritual sense was several times more painful than when her body exploded. The flame clearly only had a shallow level of intelligence. It could not speak. As it shook proudly, it burned Yun Chujia's spiritual sense even more crazily. Yun Chujio felt that the flame should be struck by lightning, so she fired several purple lightning bolts at the flame. Sure enough, the flame trembled for a moment, but when it realized that Yun Chujia's purple lightning was not too strong, it continued to show off, shaking as it burned. Yun Chujio felt her head buzzing, as if her entire mind had stopped, and she could not remember anything except the burning pain. She even had the feeling of giving up. As long as she gave up, she would no longer feel the pain and would no longer have to endure the burning pain. No, she definitely could not give up like this. Wasn't it just a bunch of flames? After 100 refinements, we will see who would be the one laughing in the end. I can subdue so many weapon spirits, and I still can't subdue you, a broken flame. Yun Chujia's primordial spirit began to meditate with her legs crossed. No matter how the Qi Ling burned, she did not move, as if she was meditating. When the Qi Ling saw this, it began to burn even more crazily. It felt that it would soon burn Yun Chujia's spiritual sense. As long as it burned this wretched girl to death, it could return to the cliff wall to cultivate. Sooner or later, it would cultivate the great Tao. The little silver dragon and the other Qi Ling were curled up in a corner. There was only one thought in their minds. It was over. It was dead for sure. However, as time passed, even though Yun Chujia's expression was very painful, Yun Chujia's spiritual sense did not burn to ashes as the Qi Ling had expected. Instead, her sea of consciousness seemed to have expanded a little. The flame also noticed this change. It could not help but rush towards Yun Chujia's primordial spirit in a fluster. "Wretched girl, if you can't burn your sea of consciousness, then burn your primordial spirit." Yun Chujio heard the little silver dragon's cry and opened her eyes. It was too late for her to hide. She subconsciously released a group of piglets with spirit energy towards the flame and stood up to hide. The little silver dragon and the Qi Ling all felt that these piglets with spirit energy were useless. They were soon turned into roasted suckling pigs. The flame obviously thought so too. It did not take the little piglets of spirit energy seriously at all and continued to charge forward. However, it did not expect that the group of little piglets of spirit energy pounced on the flame and began to devour the flame. The flame kept trembling. It was obviously in great pain. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. She had no choice but to release the little piglets of spirit energy. She did not expect it to have a miraculous effect. Hence, this fellow continued to release the pigs. "My minions. Well done. Swallow this bastard flame and kill it." Yun Chujio saw that the little piggy was brave, so the little piggy regained its spirit and began to cheer for her. The artifact spirits also started to make noise. If Yun Chujio died, they would not be able to recover either. They naturally hoped that the little piggy could swallow the flame. After a full 10 hours, the little piggy with spiritual power finally finished swallowing the flame. However, Yun Chujio was not happy at all because the flame had been devoured by the little piglet. In other words, it had been devoured by her. The little piglet only felt that its primordial spirit was about to explode, and it wished that it could dive into the icy water. Just when Yun Chujio thought that her primordial spirit would explode, a cool aura came from her dantian, and Yun Chujio felt a little better. She knew that this was definitely the work of Go Weiba. Right now, she did not know whether she hated Go Weiba or was grateful to Go Weiba. Although Go Weiba had almost killed her before, it had saved her life time and time again. It was really entangled, and she could not tell whether it was right or wrong. With the cool aura of Go Weiba, Yun Chujia's primordial spirit finally survived the burning of the flame. The flame was divided by the little piglet of spiritual power, and its spiritual intelligence naturally dissipated. Yun Chujio felt that there was nothing wrong with her spiritual sense, so she retreated. This guy stood up and felt that his right palm was a little hot. When he looked down, he could not help but be stunned. He saw the mark of a flame on his right palm. It was bright red like blood, very eye-catching. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. Fuck. What was going on? Didn't she already kill the flame? Why did this damn thing appear on her palm? Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and used the large kitchen knife to cut her right palm. This guy thought that he would be able to pull out the flame just like that. Who would have thought that there was nothing? However, when the skin healed, the mark of the flame appeared again. Could it be that this thing had become a birthmark? Yun Chujio was a big-hearted person. Seeing that there was no way to get rid of it, she decided not to get rid of it. She even thought to herself that it would be great if the flame mark appeared on her forehead. It would definitely be beautiful. Xiao Hanio was completely speechless. No one could be so heartless to this extent. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She felt that the stone wall was so strong that it must be a good thing. Hence, she used the sudden rupture talisman to blast off a few pieces and stored them in her storage ring. At this moment, the sky became even darker. Other than the heavenly lightning from before, another large piece of dark cloud floated over. Wu Yun's expression changed. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. Could it be that the flame was really something good? So that old bastard Tian Dao sent Wu Yun to strike me? Come, come, let the heavenly lightning come more fiercely. Yun Chujia's prediction was right. Wu Yun naturally wouldn't float over for no reason. It was precisely to strike her. Yun Chujio raised her head to take a look. This Wu Yun looked quite familiar. So it was the old familiar Yun. Io, little Yun, we meet again. What a coincidence. Yun Chujio smiled and waved her claws at Wu Yun. Wu Yun had rejected this mission in his heart, but he had no choice but to come. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, he unhappily struck several purple lightning bolts at Yun Chujio. Good strike. Good strike. It's so good. Come on, hit me as much as you want. Let's hurt each other as much as we want. Yun Chujio raised her head and said with a smile. Wu Yun was already numbed by this fellow's anger. He kept hacking downwards. No matter what, he had to finish the power of lightning. Yun Chujio acted as if nothing had happened. She even had the leisure to search for spirit herbs everywhere. Moreover, she had Xiao Hanio and Xiao Mogu help to find high-grade spirit herbs. She wanted to fight for a nest for it. Since Xiao Hanio had been killed by her, this Thunder Disaster Valley might soon become an ordinary valley. When that time came, it would be convenient for others, so it was better to pick more. When this guy was searching for high-level spiritual herbs while being struck by lightning, he found a few herbs growing in a crack in the stone. Each herb only had 7 sawtooth-shaped leaves with light pink flowers on the top. Yun Chujia's eyes couldn't help but light up. Wasn't this the 7-leaf hollow grass that Jiao Shaoyan and the others were looking for? TSK, what a blessed person. Yun Chujio used her body to protect the medicinal herbs. Then, she took out a small shovel and carefully put the 7-leafed hollow grass into her storage ring. After sweeping the area, she found that there were no fish that had fallen into the net. Then, she happily hopped toward the entrance of the valley. Anfeng and the others were the only ones left outside the valley. The others had left a long time ago. After Yun Chuzhou left the valley, the dark clouds in the sky also floated out and continued to attack Yun Chuzhou. Miss. Be careful. He Shi and the others saw so many bolts of lightning striking Yun Chuzhou's body. They were so scared that they closed their eyes. It was over. Miss would definitely be turned into ashes. However, when they opened their eyes again, they saw that Yun Chuzhou was not only fine, she even pointed at the dark clouds in the sky and said, "Little Yun Yun, that's enough. I still have things to do, I don't have time to play with you." Play with it? Who the fuck needs you to play with it? This Yun is working, do you understand? This is a very serious matter. Woo woo, it's useless to be serious. This damn little pervert, why can't he be hacked to death? The dark clouds in the sky wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He Shi and the others were dumbfounded. Oh God, the little ancestor was actually unharmed after being struck by so many bolts of lightning? This was too abnormal. Wu Yun in the sky was also like a broken pot that had been broken. All of the remaining power of the lightning was struck down toward the ground, regardless of whether it struck Yun Chuzhou or not. Wu Yun trembled and floated away. Since the lightning had already been struck, the little abnormal did not have to depend on me even if he did not die. If he had the ability, let other clouds strike him. I do not want to see this little abnormal anymore. My head hurts. Yun Chuzhou waved her claws at Wu Yun and said, "Little Yun Yun, you are welcome to come and play with me frequently. I even wrote a song for you. Listen carefully. My house's door is always open and my embrace is waiting for you. Little Jill welcomes you and shares your breath under the sun." Wu Yun floated even faster. Oh God, quickly save me. I met a little lunatic. Save me. Yun Chuzhou saw Wu Yun drifting away as if he was fleeing for his life. She could not help but twitch her lips. Bah! Other than me, who else can make you do this without scolding you? You really don't know how to appreciate favors. He Shi and the others felt that their worldview had been refreshed. They were all stunned like wooden stakes. If they did not see wrongly, then Wu Yun should have fled in a panic, right? He seemed to have been scolded by the little ancestor and ran away. The Board of Immortals. That was Wu Yun who could bring down heavenly thunder. He was actually so cowardly. The 6 of them were incomparably glad of their decision back then. If they were to go against the little ancestor, there would only be one outcome, and that would be death. A freak who could make Wu Yun run away in anger, what a terrifying existence that was. At this moment, a loud sound came from within the Thunder Tribulation Valley, and everyone was shocked. Yun Chuzhou touched her chin. Something must have happened to the stone wall. Perhaps it had sunk into the ground. Don't just stand there. I think the name of the Thunder Disaster Valley will be changed soon. Let's run away from the scene of the crime, Yun Chuzhou said sneakily. He Shi and the others didn't have enough brains now, so they were like puppets. They followed Yun Chuzhou's instructions and summoned their flying spirit tools. After boarding the flying spirit tools, they quickly left the Thunder Disaster Valley. After 4 hours, He Shi and the others finally realized why the Thunder Disaster Valley would change its name. Then there would definitely be no more heavenly lightning strikes. Why would there be no more heavenly lightning strikes? Could it be that there was something inside that was stolen by the little ancestor? He Shi and the others inexplicably thought of Luo Pingsheng and Elder Zhao Er's storage rings. This greedy little ancestor might have stolen something from them again. Oh God, don't say anything else. Hurry up. The next morning, the lightning in the Thunder Disaster Valley had already begun to dissipate. The purple lightning had completely disappeared. Only scattered silver lightning would occasionally strike. Soon, someone noticed something strange here. Everyone rushed into the Thunder Disaster Valley because they felt that this was a great opportunity to make a fortune. Jiao Shaoyan and the others were no exception. After hearing the news, they rushed over in a hurry and began to enter the Thunder Disaster Valley to look for the seven-leaf hollow grass. These people were quickly disappointed because they found that there were almost no traces of heaven-grade herbs in the valley. Even earth-grade herbs were few and far between. That was not right. Although they had come in to collect a wave of herbs before, they did not go too deep. Logically speaking, there should be many high-grade spirit herbs in the depths of the valley. At this time, someone had already reached the end of the valley and found that the ground was full of gravel. It was obviously caused by the collapse of the cliff. Could it be that something had happened in the valley before? Everyone was puzzled. Someone said, "Oh right, when we left yesterday, the little girl's subordinates did not leave. They have been guarding outside the valley. Why didn't we see them today? Perhaps they can know some details." They naturally wasted their efforts. After asking around, they did not find any trace of Yun Chujio and the others. The old man who followed Jiao Shaoyan frowned. Although he did not have any evidence, he felt that the change in Thunder Disaster Valley had something to do with that little girl. However, now that she had disappeared, there was no way to find out the reason, so everyone could only disperse. At this time, Yun Chujio was already tens of thousands of miles away from Thunder Disaster Valley. This guy felt that she was basically safe, so he finally relaxed. "Little madman, come here for a moment." Yun Chujio called Anfeng into her room. Anfeng was very puzzled. After entering, he asked, "Miss Jiao, what are your orders?" Yun Chujio stretched out her right hand and said with a smile, "Do you think this decoration of mine looks good?" Anfeng looked down and saw a bright red flame mark on Yun Chujio's fair palm, which was very eye-catching. Anfeng thought that Yun Chujio had drawn it herself, so he complimented her, "Miss Jiao, your decoration is so beautiful and lifelike. I thought there was really a flame mark in your palm." Yun Chujio sighed, "Alas, I didn't draw it. This thing also came uninvited. Let me tell you, when I entered the valley," Yun Chujio told him about the little flame and then said, "Little lunatic, what do you think that little flame is? What's with my mark?" Anfeng scratched his head, "Miss Jiao, I don't know as much as you do." "How would I know if you don't know? But I think that since this thing is sealed in the stone wall and protected by the heavenly lightning, it must be a great thing." Yun Chujio heard this and beamed with joy. "Of course it's a good thing. Otherwise, that old bastard Tian Dao wouldn't have come to strike me. When I see a gigolo one day, I'll ask him again." "Maybe hell no." The corner of Anfeng's eyes twitched. Now, unless Ninth Miss had a request, she would only be called a Prince Charming. Otherwise, she would only be called a gigolo. It was really turning over a new leaf. "Ninth Miss, what level is your spiritual power now?" "Pan, the N0VL, it's okay. I've broken through 3 levels, and now I'm at the 4th level of the Lingxian realm. I'm still too weak." After some time, "Well, find another place to go for a trial," Yun Chujio said unhappily. Anfeng was already numb from the blow. He felt that if he did not have any fortuitous encounters, the Ninth Miss, this pervert, would probably catch up to him very soon. When that time came, he did not know who would protect whom. It was too depressing for a dark guard to live up to his level. Woo, did he work hard too? But, he was already a monster when he met 1 or 2 of them. He simply couldn't live anymore. Anfeng's words reminded Yun Chujio that this guy had secretly adjusted his spiritual power level to the 6th level of the Supreme Spirit Realm. The journey was smooth. Half a month later, the flying spiritual device arrived in Fengli City. Yun Chujio hopped over to see Mo Xiaoting, "Grandfather, I'm back." Mo Xiaoting was naturally happy to see Yun Chujio return safely and that Yun Chujio's spiritual power had broken through again. After chatting for a while, Mo Xiaoting asked, "How was your inspection of the southernmost land? Is there a need for trade?" Yun Chujio was so focused on treasure hunting that she did not have time to inspect the market. However, she could easily lie and simply found a few excuses to avoid the issue. Mo Shouting didn't have much hope, so he didn't take it to heart. After chatting for a while, he told Yun Chujio to go back and rest. Yun Chujio had just showered and was about to take a good afternoon nap when Qing Lu reported, "Miss, the master wants you to go to the study room." Yun Chujio couldn't help but feel confused. It seemed like there was something urgent. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come back and called her over. After Yun Chujio arrived at Mo Ziyading's study room, she saw Mo Ziyading's face lit up with joy. Amidst his excitement, there was a hint of nervousness. She couldn't help but wonder what had happened. "Grandfather, are you looking for me?" "Feng Chao, I originally wanted you to come back tomorrow, but grandfather is simply too happy." "Look, what are these?" Mo Shouting picked up the 2 red invitations on the table and handed them to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio took the red invitation card and looked at it. She immediately understood why Mo Shouting was so excited. The invitation card was sent by the Mo family. The content was, "The young master of the Mo family will be getting married on the 6th of next month. Mo Shouting and Yun Chujio will be invited to attend the ceremony. Feng Chao, it's all thanks to you. If you didn't want to do business with the Mo family, why would the Mo family invite the both of us to attend the ceremony? When I was young, I followed my father to the Eastern continent once. The spiritual energy in the Eastern continent is much richer than in the Western continent, and the spiritual power of the people there is generally higher than in the Western continent," Mo Shouting said excitedly. Yun Chujio couldn't help but purse her lips. The old fox would probably be so excited that he wouldn't fall asleep for a few days. Looking at how successful he was, it was embarrassing. Mo Shouting talked for a while before he realized that he had lost his composure. He cleared his throat and said, "Feng Chao, I've just thought about it. You are good in every aspect, but you are lacking in etiquette. Let me help you find someone to teach you." Yun Chujio couldn't help but laugh. This old fox was quite meticulous, he even thought of this. The old fox chuckled, "Grandfather, I know all about etiquette. It's just that I don't usually show it. If you don't believe me, I can walk a few steps for you." Mo Shouting naturally did not believe Yun Chujio's words. He felt that Yun Chujio was just bragging, but he didn't want to reject her outright. So, he said perfunctorily, "Then, walk for a while and let me take a look." Yun Chujio nodded and hopped to the door. Mo Shouting couldn't help but twitch his eyes. How could she be so polite? Stop joking. At this moment, Yun Chujio slowly turned around. Her entire aura suddenly changed, as if she wasn't the same person as the little girl from before. Her every move was calm and noble. It was as if she had suddenly turned from Goei Batsao into a beautiful peony. Mo Shouting was stunned. He had originally thought that her mother and Goei Batsao were just a figment of her imagination and the difference in temperament was simply too great. But, from the looks of it, they were indeed mother and daughter, their family background was completely revealed. Not to mention the Mo family, even the Yi family couldn't find a single flaw in their demeanor. Yun Chujio saw Mo Ziyading's stunned expression and couldn't help but smile playfully. "Grandfather, how was it? I passed the test, right? Actually, I understand all of this, but it's so tiring to carry it around. It's better for a monkey like me to be at ease." Mo Shouting came back to his senses and nodded before saying, "When you arrive at the Mo family home, you need to be a little more humble. Otherwise, if your limelight surpasses the girls from my family, I'm afraid they'll do you a disservice." Yun Chujio nodded, "Grandfather, you're still thoughtful. You have a point. Why don't I just act like a monkey and forget about it? Otherwise, if I'm young and beautiful and know how to do business, won't they die of jealousy? It's a good opportunity to leave a flaw in their appearance so they can find a sense of superiority. Mo Xiaoting's eyes twitched as he thought for a moment. He felt that Yun Chujia's words made sense. All right, then well, do as you say. But, when the time comes, we need to control ourselves and not cause any trouble. If you cause trouble, grandfather won't be able to protect you. Grandfather, don't worry, I will be careful. Oh right, grandfather, I'm afraid we will have to spend a lot of money on this trip. In addition to the wedding gifts, we also have to prepare gifts for each room. Moreover, the quality of the gifts cannot be too low. Otherwise, we might as well not give them. It's such a waste. Yun Chuzhou pouted and said. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Xiaoting teased, you little girl, you are such an iron rooster. The money needed to be spent naturally had to be spent. As for the gifts, you don't have to worry about them. Grandfather will ask Manager Lu about my family's preferences and then make some preparations. Hee, grandfather, this is our hard-earned money. Of course, our hearts will ache for it. But, this is my first time going. I'm still a junior. I wonder if my family will give me some gifts, Yun Chujiu said as she blinked her eyes. Mo Xiaoting immediately remembered what had happened when Yun Chujiu first arrived at the Mo residence. His heart trembled. Fang Chao, I'm not a place where you can mess around. Don't mess around when the time comes. Grandfather, look at what you said. I'm not a fool. Of course I won't mess around. Don't worry. If you're fine, I'll make a trip to grandmother's. I bought her some specialty products from the road, Yun Chujiu said with a smile. Mo Xiaoting sighed in relief when he heard Yun Chujiu's words. He waved his hand to signal for Yun Chujiu to leave. Yun Chujiu hopped into the main courtyard. Inside, Wu Shi and Niu Shi were chatting with old Madame Lu. Grandmother, I've come to see you. Did you miss me? 72 filial granddaughters came online. Seeing Yun Chujiu hop in, old Madame Lu raised her head with a smile. You naughty monkey, you've been gone for so long. You're finally willing to come back. Grandmother, look at what you said. Even if I'm willing to part with other things, I can't bear to part with you, grandmother. If it weren't for the fact that I'm afraid of being impolite and travel-worn, I would have come to see you directly just now. Grandmother, these are the food I brought for you. I personally picked them out. Please try them. First aunt, third aunt, come and try them too. Yun Chujiu took out some food she bought on the way from her storage ring and let everyone try them. Wu Shi said with a hint of flattery, Fang Chao, this child is not only capable but also filial. No wonder mother dotes on her. Lady Niu also echoed, what sister-in-law said makes sense. Fang Chao, this child is really a good girl that is 1 in 10,000, pan dn 0 vel com. Yun Chujiu could not help but laugh. Did Wu Shi and Lady Niu drink honey this morning or something? Although they usually tried to curry favor with her, they were not so explicit. They probably had other plans, right? As expected. Wu Shi changed the topic as she spoke. Mother, Fang Chao is already 18 this year. Should we consider marriage? My mother's nephew is 3 years older than Fang Chao and has a dignified appearance. My mother's sister-in-law has also fallen in love with Fang Chao. You see, why don't we let them come over and have a good look at each other? Hearing Wu Shi's words, Madame Niu quickly said, Mother, my nephew and Fang Chao are about the same age, and their cultivation aptitude is quite good. Why don't we ask my sister-in-law and nephew to come over as well? Have a good look at each other. Yun Chujiu was drinking tea when she heard Wu Shi and Madame Niu's words. She almost burst out laughing. These two people really had a good plan. Were they planning to marry me and indirectly take control of the Mo family? They were really simple fools. Old Madame Lu threw the teacup on the ground in anger. Two idiots whose hearts have been clouded by lard. Are those two things from your family worthy of the fragrant grass? Don't think that the old woman doesn't know about your thoughts. Let me tell you, you should just give up on that thought. Wuxia and Wuxia were scolded like dogs. Although they admitted their mistakes, they sneered in their hearts. Humph, the old woman said it nicely. She probably wanted to keep the fragrant grass for her family. What a good plan. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After a while, Wuxia and Wuxia found an excuse to leave with dirty faces. Old Madame Lu rambled on for a while, then she sighed and said, "Fong Chao, although your aunt and third aunt didn't choose the right people, what they said makes sense. You are already 18 years old, it's time to consider marriage." "Grandmother, I'm not going to marry. I want to stay with you and grandfather." Yun Chuzhou squeezed out two blushes on her face and said coquettishly. "Yo, you naughty monkey, you still have time to be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about for a man to marry his daughter. Your great-uncle's grandson is the same age as you, and I watched him grow up. How about grandmother let you meet him one day?" Old Lady Lu said jokingly. The girl from Fangchao was like a money tree. Marrying her was the same as marrying a treasure trove. She couldn't let anyone get away with it. "Grandmother, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm going back." Yun Chuzhou pretended to be shy and ran out. Old Madame Lu felt that Yun Chuzhou was shy. She smiled and shook her head, ready to talk to Mo Xiaoting about this. "Master, that old fart is really going to marry you off to her family. What are you going to do?" Xiao Hanio asked worriedly. "Don't worry. The old fox won't agree. He can't wait for me to never get married," Yun Chuzhou said nonchalantly. As long as Mo Xiaoting didn't agree, it was useless for old Madame Lu and Mo Xiaoting to have fun. As expected, when old Madame Lu mentioned the matter to Mo Xiaoting that night, Mo Xiaoting scolded her and warned her, "I have my own arrangements for Fong Chao's marriage. Don't get involved." Old Madame Lu was scolded like a chicken in a nest, so she vented her anger on Wuxia and Wuxia. The next day, when the two of them came to pay their respects, they found an excuse to scold them. Due to the distance between the eastern and western continents, although the official day was only the 6th of the next month, Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou left with their guards in just 2 days. Of course, Manager Lu was also with them. Manager Lu was very attentive throughout the journey. Yun Chuzhou stared at him with a faint smile and said, "Manager Lu, this is your territory on the eastern continent. Do you have any tricks up your sleeve to get back at me?" Manager Lu was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. He shook his head like a rattle drum. "Miss Fangchao, even if I had 100 guts, I wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to you. Don't worry, when we arrive at the eastern continent, as long as you order me to do something, I will definitely do it beautifully for you. At least you are tactful. To tell you the truth, although I am not familiar with the eastern continent, wanting to kill you is as easy as flipping a hand," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. In the eyes of Manager Lu, Yun Chuzhou's smile was the sneer of a devil. She swore an oath to express her loyalty. All right, I was just joking with you. These are small gifts for this month. You can keep them to buy tea," Yun Chuzhou said as she handed over 2 million high-grade spirit stones to Manager Lu. Manager Lu accepted the benefits and became even more attentive. Even the guards like He Shi were taken good care of. Mo Xiaoting sighed in his heart. Fong Chao's slap was indeed effective. Half a month later, the flying spiritual device arrived at the only land border between the eastern and western continents. The guards from the various major powers of the eastern continent set up a checkpoint here. No matter who they were, they had to go through an identity check before walking across the border. Under normal circumstances, people from the Western continent were not allowed to enter the Eastern continent. However, there were two special exceptions. One was that once a person's spiritual power reached the spiritual void realm, they would gain the status of a resident of the Eastern continent and would be able to freely travel between the Eastern and Western continents. The other was that if a third-class family from the Eastern continent sent out an invitation, the person invited would be granted a temporary pass. The duration of a temporary pass and the number of slots were related to the family's level. For example, the Mo family was only a third-grade family, so Mo Ziyading's temporary pass only had a 2-month period and only had 2 slots. He Shi and the others were not qualified to receive a temporary pass, so they had no choice but to wait near the border according to Mo Ziyading's arrangements. Meanwhile, Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou, accompanied by manager Lu, successfully obtained a temporary pass and set foot on the East continent. Anfeng had managed to break through to the spiritual void realm a few days ago, otherwise, Yun Chuzhou would have been left with nothing. Anfeng naturally did not travel with them. Instead, he obtained the identity of a resident of the Eastern continent the next day and swaggered into the Eastern continent. After Yun Chuzhou and the others passed the border inspection, they boarded the flying spiritual device and headed towards the Mo family's home, Fuhu City. Yun Chuzhou looked out of the flying spiritual device's window and felt that there wasn't much difference between the Eastern continent and the Western continent. The only difference was that the spiritual energy was slightly stronger. However, this didn't matter to her at all. Mo Xiaoting couldn't hide his excitement as his hands began to tremble. He had finally set foot on the Eastern continent once again. It would be even better if he could become a resident of the Eastern continent in the future. If he wanted to become a resident of the Eastern continent, there wasn't only one path for him to become a resident of Lingshu. There was another path. As Mo Ziyading's branch was a branch of the Mo family, as long as the Mo family agreed to include the branch in their own family and pay a huge sum of money to the Eastern Continent Alliance, Mo Ziyading's branch would be able to obtain the status of a resident of the Eastern Continent. For Mo Xiaoting, the huge sum of money wasn't a problem. After all, the Mo family was extremely rich. But, how to get the Mo family to agree to include the branch in their own family was a difficult problem. So, he could only take a long time to think about it. After another 8 days, the flying spirit tool finally arrived at Fuhu City. After everyone got off the flying spirit tool, they walked into Fuhu City. Fuhu City was very lively. People came and went on the streets. It was a prosperous scene. Yun Chuzhou could not help but sigh. The spiritual power level of this Eastern continent was indeed much higher than that of the Western continent. Only a few people on the streets were at the level of Spirit Paragon, and the vast majority were at the level of Ling Xian or even higher. Manager Lu, what is the spiritual power level of people my age in the Eastern continent? Yun Chuzhou asked Manager Lu in a low voice. This is not very unified. It still depends on the talent and the family. The small families are around the 8th level of the spiritual venerable realm, the 3rd-class families are around the 1st level of the spiritual profound realm, the 2nd-class families are around the 3rd level of the spiritual profound realm, and the 1st-class families are around the 5th level of the spiritual profound realm. If it were those super sects, they would be around the 7th level of the spiritual profound realm. If it were those prodigies, some of them would already be at the 1st level of the spiritual void realm. Manager Lu was very well behaved now. He simply said whatever he knew. Yun Chuzhou nodded. The gap was still very big. She had to continue working hard. This guy's attention was quickly attracted by the snack shop by the roadside. My goodness, the Eastern continent was indeed better than the Western continent. There were many things in this snack shop that she had never seen before. Manager Lu felt that this was a good opportunity to curry favor with Yun Chuzhou, so he immediately ordered people to buy a bunch of snacks for Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chujio looked at Manager Lu with appreciation. Manager Lu immediately felt that the sky had turned blue and the clouds had turned white. The little devil probably wouldn't cause any trouble for a while. The Mo family was the biggest family in Fuhu City. They occupied a total of 2 streets. Manager Lu brought Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio to the 5th house of the Mo family, the 5th house that Mo Xiaoting had been in contact with. Manager Lu was also from the 5th house, so he was naturally familiar with the area. He brought Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio to wait at the front door before sending someone in to report. After a while, a man who looked like a housekeeper walked over. The man chatted with Manager Lu for a while, but he did not even look at Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio. It wasn't until Manager Lu stopped him from talking that he asked, "Housekeeper Zhu, what did 5th elder say?" The 5th elder said that he was getting old and was afraid that he would be sad after meeting them, so he decided to not meet them for the time being. "Let's meet again on the day of the wedding," Housekeeper Zhu said arrogantly. Manager Lu could only ask, "What about the other masters of the 5th house? Where do the 4th master and Miss Fengchao live?" Only then did Housekeeper Zhu glance at Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio. With a fake smile, he said, "The other masters are also very busy. How would they have the time to see them? Our 5th house has a lot of servants' rooms. You can just find 2 rooms for them to live in." Mo Xiaoting's face was ashen. Although he was mentally prepared and felt that he would be treated badly by his own family, he was being too harsh. Manager Lu caught a glimpse of the smile on Yun Chujio's face and his heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously took a few steps back. He felt that Housekeeper Zhu was in deep trouble. As expected, Yun Chujio took 2 steps forward. "Are you the housekeeper of the 5th house?" Housekeeper Zhu thought Yun Chujio was giving him some benefits. He couldn't help but curl his lips. "That's right, I am the housekeeper of the 5th house. I don't like things from the Western continent. You don't have to waste your efforts. This thing is worlds apart. The people of the Western continent are inferior. Although I'm a slave, but also, Pa." Housekeeper Zhu's words were interrupted by 2 loud slaps. Housekeeper Zhu's face immediately swelled up, and even the back of his molars were slapped. Housekeeper Zhu was stunned by the beating. He never dreamed that a little girl from the Western continent would actually dare to hit him. Although he was the housekeeper of the 5th branch, how could he not be better than these lowly people? You little bitch, how dare you hit me? Men, arrest this bitch." Housekeeper Zhu said fiercely as he covered his face. Manager Liu's mouth twitched. As expected, he knew that the little devil would not be bullied like this. But, he had just arrived and had already beaten up the housekeeper of the 5th branch. How was he going to end things now? Although Mo Xiaoting felt that Yun Chujio's 2 slaps were too good for him, he still blamed Yun Chujio. He didn't have to hit her to express his dissatisfaction. But, what was he going to do now that the situation had escalated? A few guards at the door heard Housekeeper Zhu's words and surrounded Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio sneered, "If any one of you dares to touch me today, I will make their head fall to the ground. If you don't believe me, let's give it a try." Although the guards thought that Yun Chujio was talking big, they hesitated for a moment. No matter what, this little girl was the daughter of a branch. If they really started to fight, the higher-ups might really blame her. Manager Lu quickly tried to smooth things over. "Brothers, this is all a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Don't make a move yet." Housekeeper Zhu shouted in exasperation, "Do you listen to this wretched girl or to me? Capture her for me. If the masters blame me, I will bear the responsibility." As soon as Housekeeper Zhu finished speaking, he felt a chill on his neck. A cold voice came from behind him. "Dog slave, is this how your own family treats their guests? Is this the intention of the masters or did you make the decision on your own?" Almost everyone present did not see how Yun Chujio moved. In the blink of an eye, Yun Chujio had placed a large kitchen knife on housekeeper Zhu's neck. On one hand, manager Lu was a little worried that the matter would blow up. On the other hand, he felt a strange balance in his heart. Back then, the little devil had also used a large kitchen knife to threaten him. Now, he wanted to let housekeeper Zhu have a taste of it. Who did he think he was? Pfft. The little devil can't kill you. The guards of the fifth house were all dumbfounded and shocked. This Miss Fong Chao from the branch was too fierce. She had used a large kitchen knife at the slightest disagreement. Luckily, they hadn't attacked her just now. Otherwise, she might have really killed them. Housekeeper Zhu was both angry and afraid. The cold blade of the large kitchen knife was only a little bit away from his neck. As long as Yun Chujio used a little bit of force, his head would be removed. If you kill me, fifth elder will not forgive you. Fourth master, are you going to let her do as she pleases? Housekeeper Zhu yelled at Mo Shouting. Mo Shouting couldn't help but sneer. Now, he remembered that he was the fourth master. He had just asked them to stay in the guest room. Although Mo Shouting did not agree with Yun Chujio's recklessness, since things had come to this, he naturally would not speak up for housekeeper Zhu. So, he simply looked at housekeeper Zhu coldly and did not say a word. Yun Chujio's hand tightened slightly and housekeeper Zhu's neck was cut open, fresh blood oozed out. Slave dog, if you don't answer me who came up with the idea of letting my grandfather and I stay in the guest room, I will continue cutting. Let's play a game. How about I cut a few more times before you die? Housekeeper Zhu was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. Bet a few times. Fuck, killing me with a few times, isn't it up to you to decide? Such a good-looking grudge between the rich and powerful, of course, there would be a lot of onlookers. At this time, there were already many people gathered outside the fifth room to watch the show. Pan DN0 Vel. Com someone jeered, I'll bet 1 time. I'll bet 3 times. I'll bet 5 times. When housekeeper Zhu heard the crowd jeering, he became even more exasperated. Shut the fuck up. If anyone dares to talk nonsense again, I'll kill him. When the crowd heard housekeeper Zhu's words, no one dared to spout nonsense anymore. The Mo family was too powerful and they could not afford to offend them. However, these people immediately sided with Yun Chujio's side. Housekeeper Zhu was so arrogant and domineering, he deserved to be punished. It would be best if this young lady killed him directly. Yun Chujio exerted more force, and another wound appeared on housekeeper Zhu's neck. Speak. Who came up with the idea of letting my grandfather and I stay in the room? Housekeeper Zhu couldn't take it anymore. No matter what, his life was more important, so he said, It's 5, you dog slave. How dare you treat younger brother Xiao Ting and the Fong Chao girl so slowly? You really deserve to die. An old man walked out from the courtyard and shouted angrily at housekeeper Zhu. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. Did he see that the matter had blown up and abandoned his pawn to protect the cart? Today's act was probably to put her and the old fox in their place. The Mahist family was really very interesting. After the old man reprimanded housekeeper Zhu, he walked over to Mo Shouting and smiled. This must be brother Xiao Ting from Guangshuanji, right? Mo Xiaoan from the 5th branch. A few years older than you. You must have been tired from the journey. Come with me to get some rest. Although Mo Xiaoan said these words with a smile, his smile was extremely fake. The smile did not reach his eyes. Mo Shouting was a wily old fox, so he could see everything clearly. Just as he was hesitating whether he should jump down the mountain or not, Yun Chujio suddenly howled, Grandfatherin, you have to make a decision for your niece. Housekeeper Zhu has bullied grandfather and me so badly. If it wasn't for our strong endurance, we would have been angered to death. Housekeeper Zhu was stunned. Mo Xiaoan was stunned. The onlookers were also stunned. Oh God! Pa-ndnovl, this was probably how it was to lie through your teeth, right? Housekeeper Zhu's face was as swollen as a pig's head, and his neck was still bleeding. Who was the one who was in such a miserable state? Yun Chuzhou continued, Grandfatherin, when you saw Housekeeper Zhu like this, you probably thought I was lying. Yes, I admit that I touched him a few times in anger, but the psychological trauma he caused to my grandfather and me cannot be described with words. It took my grandfather and I more than 20 days to travel hundreds of thousands of miles to our own home. In the end, Housekeeper Zhu told us that fifth great-grandfather did not want to see us, and the other masters did not have the time to pay attention to us. They even let us stay in the guest room. This is intolerable. Even if uncle could tolerate it, aunt could not tolerate it. This is too much of a bully. We came here with a fire burning in our hearts. Now, it's time to pull out the cold. Grandfather, are you cold? I'm so cold that I'm shivering. As Yun Chuzhou spoke, she moved closer to Mo Xiaoting and shivered as if she was serious. Housekeeper Zhu was so angry that he felt like he was about to faint. How many times did she gently touch him? Didn't your words hurt your conscience? Just as Housekeeper Zhu was glaring at Yun Chuzhou fiercely, Mo Xiaoan stepped forward and gave him a tight slap on the face, you unruly slave. Although Xiao Ting and Fang Chao are branches, they are still your masters. How could you treat them so slowly? This is unforgivable. Take them away and punish them with 50 strokes of the cane. Mo Xiaoting knew it was time for him to make his appearance, so he glared at Yun Chuzhou. Then, he said to Mo Xiaoan, Brother Xiaoan, although Housekeeper Zhu's words are a little inappropriate, my granddaughter is also reckless. I think we should forget about this matter. Mo Xiaoan obviously did not want to punish Housekeeper Zhu. Hearing Mo Xiaoting's words, he took the opportunity to say, all right, today is a good day for us to welcome you. We can't let this slave ruin our mood. Let's go in first. Mo Xiaoting nodded and followed Mo Xiaoan inside. Manager Lu naturally could not follow them. After consulting Mo Xiaoan, he left to do other things. Meanwhile, Yun Chuzhou hopped behind Mo Xiaoting and Mo Xiaoan as she looked around. The courtyard of the fifth house of the Mo family was very spacious. The decorations inside were exquisite and meticulous. It was obvious that the Mo family had a strong background. Brother Xiaoting, you just arrived today. Don't go visit your father for now. You should rest and wash up first. When we welcome you tonight, we will meet father and the others, Mo Xiaoan said politely. The guest followed the host. Naturally, Mo Xiaoting couldn't say much, so he agreed after a few polite words. Mo Xiaoan exchanged a few more pleasantries before calling over an old woman, Manager Xie, take Brother Xiaoting and the girl Fang Chao to the guest house to rest. Don't neglect them, otherwise, they will be severely punished. Yes, master. Manager Xie brought Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou to the guest house. There were differences between men and women, so Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou naturally wouldn't be arranged to stay in the same courtyard. Mo Xiaoting stayed in the Wind Pavilion, Yun Chuzhou stayed in the Broken Moon Pavilion next door. Yun Chuzhou couldn't help but curse in her heart. The name of the courtyard was quite elegant, but it was a pity that his heart was really dirty. This fellow was a little excited in his heart. Fengli City's Mo family's old residence was already tired of playing with it. This Mo family must have a lot of interesting white lotus flowers and dregs. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. A word flashed in the minds of the four dumb cuties at the same time, pervert. Other people would rather have less trouble than more trouble. This black-hearted master was really good. She could not wait for the sky to fall down and let her kick him a couple of times. Pervert. Yun Chuzhou disapproved of the silly Cutius complaints and said smugly, "Your master's declaration is that I will not cause trouble, but I will never be afraid of trouble. If anyone provoked me, I will torture them to death." Just as Yun Chuzhou was showing off with the silly cuties, two maids came out from the Broken Moon Pavilion to welcome her. Apparently, the higher-ups had given instructions before, so both of them knew Yun Chuzhou's identity. While bowing, she said, "Greetings, Miss Fong Chao. I am Chun Xiao and Chun Yu." Yun Chuzhou nodded, indicating for the two of them to stop bowing. She didn't say anything or say anything else. Although Chun Xiao and Chun Yu didn't show it on the surface, they couldn't help but despise her in their hearts. She was indeed a low-class person from the Western continent, but she was so stingy. She didn't even know how to give a greeting gift. She was simply unlucky to be sent here to serve her. Manager Xie twitched his lips when he saw this. "Miss Fong Chao, this servant will take my leave now. If you have something to do, just ask Chun Xiao and Chun Yu to look for this servant." Yun Chuzhou nodded her head and walked into the pavilion. After walking for a while, Manager Xie spat on the ground. He originally thought that he would receive some money from the grandfather and grandson of Guangshunzi, but he did not expect them to be so stingy. Mo Xiaoting was not to blame for this. Since Manager Xie was an old woman, he did not want to reward her. He thought that Yun Chuzhou would definitely reward him, so he did not say anything. As for Yun Chuzhou, although she had a lot of money, she would only spend it on the edge of a knife. Manager Xie was the kind of person who would not be satisfied no matter how much she fed him, so Yun Chuzhou naturally would not waste it. After Yun Chuzhou entered the New Moon Pavilion, she found that this courtyard was quite exquisite. There were many flowers and plants planted in the courtyard, and there was also a swing. It seemed that the New Moon Pavilion was prepared for women. Chun Xiao, Chun Yu, used these spirit stones to buy some rouge powder. As Yun Chuzhou said this, she transferred 10,000 high-grade spirit stones to Chun Xiao and Chun Yu from her storage ring. The two of them were shocked. At first, they thought that Miss Fong Chao was an iron rooster who did not give a single cent. They did not expect her to be so generous. Usually, the master would only reward them with a few hundred spirit stones. They did not expect her to reward them so much. Just as the two of them were about to decline the offer, they heard Yun Chuzhou continue, "I did not reward you just now because I was afraid that Steward Xie would see it. It is not easy for you as maids. There are masters above and stewards below. You can just keep these spirit stones. If anyone asks, just say that I rewarded you a few hundred spirit stones." When Chun Xiao and Chun Yu heard Yun Chuzhou's words, their noses felt a little sour. They were the maids with the lowest status, which master wasn't high and mighty. If they wanted to fight, they would fight, and if they wanted to scold, they would scold. They didn't expect this Miss Fong Chao not only to be generous, but also to think so carefully for them. She was really too kind. The two of them avoided a few sentences. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou was determined to put away the spiritual stones, their attitude immediately became attentive. Yun Chuzhou was proud. This money was truly worth it. If she gave Steward Xie 10,000 spiritual stones, it would be a waste. If she gave it to the two handmaidens, they would definitely be moved beyond words. This fellow always believed in one thing, and that was never to underestimate the small figures at the bottom. What was the saying? Water can carry a boat, but it can also overturn a boat. The power of the people was endless. Yun Chuzhou took a hot bath and sat on the swing with her notebook. She looked at the scene leisurely. Chun Xiao and Chun Yu had thought that Yun Chuzhou would ask about the Mo family and the fifth branch after giving them so many spirit stones. They didn't expect Yun Chuzhou to not mention a single word about it. The two of them felt that Miss Fong Chao was really kind and understanding. She was the best master in the world. Soon, it was time for dinner. Manager Xie came over to invite Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu to the banquet. Before the grandfather and grandson entered the banquet hall, they could already hear the sounds of laughter coming from inside. It was clear that there were quite a few people inside. Mo Xiaoting whispered a few more words to Yun Chujiu, warning her not to cause trouble. Yun Chujiu nodded and gave Mo Xiaoting a reassuring look. To be honest, Mo Xiaoting was a little worried. This little girl wasn't afraid of anything. Although she was able to resolve the situation in the end, the entire process was terrifying. Master Ting, Miss Fang Chao has arrived. A manager announced loudly. The voices inside suddenly stopped and everyone's eyes turned to Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu. Although Mo Xiaoting was a little nervous, he had been through a lot, so his actions were quite normal. He glanced worriedly at Yun Chujiu, who was half a step behind her. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly as he smiled sweetly. Only then did he relax. There were about a dozen men and women in the main hall. Sitting in the main seat was an old man with white hair and white beard. He was most likely the uncle of the 5 families, the 5th elder of the Mo family. Yun Chujiu did not notice the old lady who was around the same age as the 5th elder. She guessed that the 5th elder's wife had already passed away. Below him stood Mo Xiaoan and an old lady. Yun Chujiu swept her gaze across the remaining people. Judging from their ages, they were most likely Mo Xiaoan's sons or grandchildren. It seemed that Mo Xiaoan did not have any biological brothers. Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu first greeted the 5th elder. Xiaoting greets the 5th uncle. Fang Chao greets the 5th great-grandfather. The 5th elder's long eyebrows twitched. He did not immediately let the 2 of them stand up. Instead, he picked up his teacup and took 2 sips of tea before saying, "Stand up." Yun Chujiu cursed in her heart. Bah! What kind of pretense was this? Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu greeted Mo Xiaoan and the old madam. After exchanging a few pleasantries, they called the younger generation over to greet Mo Xiaoting while Yun Chujiu greeted them again. After a while, the 2 of them finally finished greeting each other. Yun Chujiu was good at reading people's expressions. She could tell that none of the masters of the 5th house looked up to Mo Xiaoting or her. Even their greetings were perfunctory. They were probably afraid that the 5th elder would blame them. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have come. Although Mo Xiaoting was unhappy, he still took out the gifts he had prepared. Seeing that the gifts were quite generous, the smiles on the faces of the people from the 5th house became warmer. Whether it was the 5th elder or the older ladies, none of them had any intention of giving Yun Chujiu a greeting gift. Yun Chujiu's eyes flickered for a moment before she continued to smile coquettishly. Mo Xiaoting was originally worried that the greedy Yun Chujiu would take the initiative to ask for a greeting gift, but seeing that she did not react, he finally let out a sigh of relief. After the small talk, it was time for the banquet to begin. Yun Chujiu looked at the food on the table and her eyes lit up. Although the people in the 5th ward weren't that good, the food looked good and smelled quite good. After the 5th elder exchanged a few pleasantries, the banquet began. The banquet was naturally filled with alcohol. Mo Xiaoting had just arrived, so it wasn't easy for him to reject the invitation. He quickly became a little tipsy. Yun Chujiu's eyes flashed. Was he trying to get the old fox to speak the truth after drinking? TSK, these people were really stupid. Although the old fox's spiritual power wasn't high, he wasn't any less shrewd than these people. It was likely that he was just pretending to be drunk. As expected, Mo Xiaoan began to discuss business matters with Mo Xiaoting. Although Mo Xiaoting said a lot, it was all insignificant details that made Mo Xiaoan frown in anger. Yun Chujiu's table was filled with women. Mo Xiaoan's wife, old Madame Wang, smiled and asked, "Fang Chao, I heard that you came up with many good ideas for Guangshen's business. You are so smart. You are much better than my granddaughters. The faces of the girls present turned ugly as they looked at Yun Chujio with an even more unfriendly gaze. A lowly person from the Western continent was better than them? What a joke! Thus, before Yun Chujio could answer, a girl wearing a pink dress said arrogantly, "Grandmother, although Sister Fankeo's business is not bad, her spiritual power is too low. The most important thing for us cultivators is to cultivate, and everything else is secondary. Sister Fangqiao, you should focus on cultivating in the future." Sister Fangjiao is right. My spiritual power is too low. I can't even lift my head in front of my sisters. Yun Chujio lowered her head and said with self-pity. Mo Fangjiao heard Yun Chujio's words, her expression became a little better. It's good that you know. The spiritual power in our eastern continent is much denser than that in the western continent. You should take this time to cultivate properly. It's not a wasted trip to the eastern continent. Yes, thank you for your guidance, Sister Fangjiao. After Yun Chujio finished her words obediently, she picked up her chopsticks and directly picked up half of the fish and placed it into her bowl. She happily ate it. The fish was fresh and tender, and the taste was really not bad. When the other girls in the seats saw this, they all felt disdain in their hearts. As expected, she was a lowly person from the Western continent. One look and they could tell that she had never eaten good food before. She was just a good-for-nothing. Seeing this, old Madame Wang frowned slightly. She originally wanted to ask a few more questions, but now it seemed that there was no need to ask any more. Everyone's impression of Yun Chujio was basically fixed. She had just arrived and had already started fighting with a butler. She had a reckless personality and was even a bit of a scoundrel. In addition, she had low spiritual power, was stingy, and was gluttonous. Other than being able to do some business, she had no other redeeming qualities. After the welcoming banquet, Mo Xiaoting was helped back to the Listening Wind Pavilion by a servant while Yun Chujio was accompanied by manager Xia. Seeing that Yun Chujio had returned, Chun Xiao and Chun Yu eagerly helped Yun Chujio wash up before taking turns to be on night duty outside. Yun Chujio was a little tired from the whole day. She took out her voice transmission talisman and sent an Feng a message before going to bed. Pan de N0 VLMO Xiaoan had already summoned Manager Lu in the afternoon. After some questioning, Manager Lu had already boarded Yun Chujio's ship, so he naturally knew what to say and what not to say. After interacting with Mo Xiaoan felt that although Mo Xiaoting was smart, his knowledge was limited. Mo Fangqiao was also a reckless little girl. It seemed that Guangshunzi did not do anything to his business. The next day, Yun Chujio woke up and had breakfast. She then went to greet Mo Xiaoting, "Grandfather, today is only the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year. There are still 3 days until the 6th day. Let's go out for a walk. Who knows, we might find some business opportunities." Mo Xiaoting laughed, "What you said sounded nice. I'm afraid you want to go out and play. I won't go. I'm going to discuss some matters with your grandfather. You can bring your maid with you. Be careful and don't cause any trouble." After Yun Chujio agreed, she asked Chun Xiao and manager Xia to inform her. Afterwards, she led Chun Xiao out of the 5th house. "Chun Xiao, what's the most fun and lively place in Fuhu City?" "Miss Fang Chao, our Mo residence is in the east side of the city. There are many shops in the west side and there are even some vendors that are very lively," Chun Xiao said excitedly. She rarely had the chance to go out, so she was naturally very happy. Thus, Yun Chujio brought Chun Xiao to the west side of the city. As Chun Xiao had said, there were all kinds of shops on both sides of the street. There were also many pedestrians on the street. Shopaholic Xiaojiu had come online. "Shopkeeper, that red set of clothes, that green set. Yes, I'll buy all of them." Shopkeeper, I'll buy all the high-grade defensive spirit tools in your shop. Do you have any immortal tools? Okay, I'll buy all the immortal tools too. Do you have any talismans above level 10? If you do, I'll buy them all. Chun Xiao was dumbfounded. It was the first time she had seen someone buying things like this. This was not buying things, this was simply squandering. Soon, all the merchants in the West City knew that the goddess of wealth's grandmother had come. They all moved closer to Yunchujio. Miss, the talismans in our shop are of good quality and are cheap. Come and buy them from us. Miss, don't listen to his nonsense. The talismans in our shop are the most affordable. Miss, you've bought quite a lot of talismans. You'd better come to our shop to have a look at the rouge powder. You look so beautiful. If you use some of the rouge powder in our shop, you'll definitely be even more beautiful and moving. Yunchujio felt that she was like the flesh of a monk. These people wished they could come up and bite her. She smiled and said to the crowd, "Everyone, don't be anxious. I still have a lot of things to buy. I'm sure you all know that I'm a branch of the Mo family in the Western continent. I'm here to attend the wedding banquet. There's a reason why I bought so many things. Ah, forget it. I won't say any more. I won't say any more." Yunchujio covered her mouth as if she was shocked to realize that she had let the cat out of the bag. She quickly covered her mouth and did not say anything. The curiosity of the onlookers was immediately aroused. One by one, they stretched their necks and shouted, "Miss, it's not proper to talk halfway. Why did you buy so many things?" Yunchujio shook her head. "I can't talk nonsense. I was talking about Balu just now. Let's not talk anymore. I'll go to your shop to buy some rouge powder." As Yunchujio said that, she entered a rouge powder shop and began to choose the rouge powder that she liked. The manager of the rouge shop was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He started to introduce the shop. Yunchujio was as forthright as usual. "Okay, put these on for me. I'll buy them all." The manager saw Chun Xiao go to the shop assistant to count the rouge powder that Yunchujio had bought. He asked Yunchujio in a low voice, "Miss, why did you spend so much money to buy so many things?" "Don't worry. After you tell me, I definitely won't tell anyone." Yunchujio looked around, then she lowered her voice and said, "Sai, I see that you're also a person who keeps his word. Then I'll tell you. To tell you the truth, you've also seen that I'm a teenage girl. This definitely belongs to the younger generation in the Mo family. I originally thought that when I came this time, those elders would at least give me a greeting gift no matter what. After all, my grandfather had prepared a very generous gift for them. Who would have thought that I didn't even get a melon seed skin? There was no one who gave me a greeting gift at all. I was also a person who loved face. If I returned to the Western continent and someone asked me, how could I have the face to say that I didn't get anything? On the one hand, I was embarrassing myself. On the other hand, I was also embarrassing my own family, so I planned to buy some things from my own pocket. When I went back, I would tell others that this was a gift from my own family. I will only tell you about this matter. You must not tell anyone else. If others find out that it was me who said it, my grandfather will definitely beat me to death." The manager of the rouge shop had a burning desire to gossip in his eyes. He nodded and said, "Miss, don't worry. I will definitely not tell anyone. You are welcome to come again next time." Yunchujio nodded and then brought Chun Xiao to the other shops to continue their sweep. The manager of the rouge shop walked around the shop a few times. He hesitated for a moment and felt that his heart was really suffocating. After hearing such explosive news, if he did not share it with others, it would be too unbearable, right? Forget it. I'll just tell Old Lee from the equipment shop next door. I believe that he won't tell anyone. As long as it doesn't spread, it doesn't count as me not keeping my word. Thus, the boss of the rouge shop went to the equipment shop next door and called Manager Lee from the equipment shop to the side. He said mysteriously, "Old Lee, I'll tell you a big secret. I know why that black fragrant grass bought so many things." The eyes of the owner of the equipment shop instantly lit up. "Old Joe, quickly tell me, why?" "I'm dying of curiosity. I heard from my brother-in-law's sister-in-law's sister-in-law that the 5 branches of the Mo family didn't even give that Mo Fangchao a greeting gift. Guang Xuanji had given every master of the Mo family a generous gift. TSK, the 5 branches of the Mo family were really stingy. I guess Miss Fang Chao bought so many things. She must have gone back to make up the scene. How pitiful." The manager of the rouge shop repeated what Yun Chujio had told him. "Ah, so it's like that. I guess the 5th branch of the Mo family doesn't look up to Guang Xuanji at all. After all, the people of the Western continent are just inferior people. They are high and mighty. How could they look up to him?" After the manager of rouge shop had satisfied his desire to gossip, he instructed shopkeeper Zhou not to tell anyone else before leaving. Shopkeeper Zhou, who was in the equipment shop, walked around the room a few times. He felt that if he didn't share such explosive gossip, he probably wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. Thus, he shared this news with shopkeeper Qi of the satin shop. Shopkeeper Qi then told shopkeeper Zhang of the snack shop about the news. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. If there was any news that spread the fastest, it would naturally be through the grapevine. Yun Chujio was well versed in this. The more she asked people to keep a secret, the more she wanted them to keep it a secret. Did the family want to keep it a secret? In their dreams, Yun Chujio did not covet what they had. After all, she and Mo Xiaoting had done a lot of dirty work in their business, and Mo Xiaoting had also given Yun Chujio a lot of spirit stones. By doing this, she wanted to attract the attention of the Mo family, just like how she had attracted Mo Xiaoting's attention in the past. If there was a good wind, she could rely on her strength to send her up to the clouds. Without the wind, she would not be able to get up no matter how hard she tried. So, she had to do something. Half a year had passed since the 3-year agreement. Her current level of spiritual power was only at the 4th layer of Ling Xian realm. It was simply too slow. She had to jump from the western continent to the eastern continent. This was a great opportunity and she could not miss it. Yun Chujio brought Chun Xiao to the restaurant to buy a few good tables. Only then did she swagger back to the 5th branch of the Mo family with Chun Xiao. Yun Chujio took out a few pieces of rouge and powder and gave them to Chun Xiao and Chun Yu. She then went to see Mo Xiaoting. Yun Chujio took out the banquet she bought and the grandfather and grandson chatted as they ate. "Fangcao, you didn't cause any trouble when you went out, did you?" Mo Xiaoting felt a little uneasy. He didn't think that Yun Chujio was someone who could take it lying down. Not only did she not receive any gifts yesterday, she was even teased by a few girls from the 5th ward. It was strange that she did not react at all. "Grandfather, I'm not a 3-year-old anymore. How can I be so ignorant? I've seen many things that are more novel than what we have on the Western continent, so I bought a lot of them. I'm planning to get our customers to copy them and sell them for a high price," Yun Chujio said in a low voice. Her voice wasn't low, so both Chun Xiao and the maids at the Listening Wind Pavilion could hear her clearly. Chun Xiao had been wondering what Yun Chujio had left to say on the street, but now she finally understood. This Miss Fang Chao was really good at doing business. She was always thinking about doing business. She hadn't said anything on the street before because she was afraid that the merchants would laugh at her. How pitiful. Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio's conversation quickly reached Mo Xiaoan's ears. Although Mo Xiaoan felt that Yun Chujio was indeed a good material for business, he did not take it to heart. A lot of the things sold in the shop were made from materials from the eastern continent. Even if they brought it to the western continent, they wouldn't be able to replicate it. There was nothing to be afraid of. However, the next morning, the leaders of the other 4 branches of the Mo family came knocking on the door. Mo Xiaoan couldn't help but wonder, were these 4 people here to find out more about Mo Shouting? Did they think he was up to something? They were really using the heart of a villain to measure the stomach of a gentleman. So, when Mo Xiaoan saw the 4 people, his expression turned ugly. Why are you so free? You are a rare guest that we usually can't invite. Mo Xiaoquan, who was also the current head of the Mo family, snorted coldly. Xiaoan, I feel that you usually handle things quite safely. I didn't expect you to actually do such an inappropriate thing. It's really embarrassing. Mo Xiaoan was dumbfounded. Big brother, although you're the head of the family, you can't just label me like this for no reason. How am I inappropriate? If you don't believe us, you can take care of the business with Guang Xuanji. Mo Xiaoan's face was gloomy, he said unhappily. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Xiaoan's words sounded like he didn't have any silver in his mouth. The 4 of them looked at each other and their suspicions deepened. Mo Xiaoquan scoffed, we'll talk about this later. After all, we have to check our accounts every half a year. We're not here because of business, we're here because of the way you treated Guang Xuanji. Mo Xiaoan was a little surprised. What's wrong with Guang Xuanji? I've arranged for Mo Xiaoting and Mo Fangchao to be in the upper room. I've also arranged for them to be served with good food and drinks. I've even arranged for a welcoming banquet. Is there anything wrong with that? Mo Xiaoping, from the 4th room, curled his lips and said, Xiaoan, you sure know how to make yourself look good. What's wrong with that? Do you know what everyone in Fu City is talking about? The grandfather and grandson came all the way here, and the 5th branch just showed off their might when they met. Although you later said that it was housekeeper Zhu who made the decision on his own, no one is a fool. Does he have that much courage? It's probably because of your instructions, right? TSK, you actually let the grandfather and grandson stay in the other branch. Only you can do such a thing. Mo Xiaofu had always been dissatisfied with the 5th branch's control of the Western continent's business. Now that he finally had an opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let it go. Mo Xiaogui from the 3rd branch also echoed, that's right. Xiaoan, you really didn't handle this matter properly. That's fine, but I heard that the elders of the 5th branch actually didn't give Fang Chao girl a single greeting gift. 5th brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but aren't you being too petty? Guang Xuanji gave you many gifts, but you actually didn't give a single cent. You really embarrassed our family. Now that the whole street is talking about this matter, I don't even have the face to go out. Mo Xiaoan was dumbfounded. After a long while, he finally said, let's put housekeeper Zhu's matter aside for now. How did outsiders know that our 5th house didn't give her a greeting gift? Mo Xiaogui pursed his lips. Fang Chao girl bought a lot of things yesterday. When others asked her why she bought so many things, she refused to tell them. Then, someone guessed that it was most likely because your 5th branch didn't give her a greeting gift. That's why she bought so many things and was prepared to go back and fill up the scene. 5th brother, as for the matter of you not giving her a greeting gift, it's probably because some servant didn't keep his mouth shut. Fang Chao didn't say anything. Xiaoan, I don't think your 5th branch is lacking in gifts, right? This matter is too inappropriate. The Mo family is considered a 3rd-class family. If word of this gets out, other families will laugh at us. You'd better think of a way to make up for it, Mo Xiaoquan said unhappily. Mo Zioan's face alternated between green and white. He did not put Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio in his eyes at all. He thought it was just a branch. It was already good enough for them to come to the eastern continent to broaden their horizons. So, he did not pay too much attention to the gift. If they didn't give it to him, then so be it. Who would have thought that in just a day or so, it would cause such a commotion? Which servant had the mouth to say so much? It was simply despicable. He did not suspect Yun Chujio because Yun Chujio and Mo Xiaoting had already said that she bought things to go back and fake them. She did not mention the gift at all. Moreover, the rumors on the streets did not mention that Yun Chujio had said it herself, and he did not think that any girl would complain about not receiving a gift. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Zioan's expression changed a few times as he said with a dark expression, "Big brother, this matter is indeed inappropriate. I will think of a way to make up for it." Mo Xiaoquan nodded. "Xiaoan, it's not that I'm criticizing you, but there are many pairs of eyes staring at us. If we are not careful, our status as a third-class family will be lost. Furthermore, although Guangshunzi is from the western continent, he has helped us earn a lot of money in the past few months. We still have to put on a show." "That's right, Xiaoan. Don't tell me that the five of you can't even bring out some gifts." Mo Xiaofu from the second branch said with his mouth curled. Mo Xiaoan was so embarrassed that he became angry. He said unhappily, "Second brother, I didn't do this properly." "But what do you mean by saying that with guns and sticks? If you're dissatisfied with me, just say it." Mo Xiaofu naturally wasn't willing to be outdone. "Xiaoan, what do you mean with a gun in your mouth? What I said is the truth. It's fine if you don't want your face, but we, the other four branches, still want it. This good news doesn't go out, but bad news spreads far and wide. I reckon that the other families have already found out about this matter. They might not be laughing at our Mo family." Pan, the N0VLMO Xiaoan naturally became even angrier when he heard him say this. "Who do you think doesn't want their face? I think you're deliberately finding trouble." Mo Xiaoquan saw that the two of them were arguing endlessly. He slapped the coffee table. "Enough. Stop arguing. You're already so old, yet you're still arguing like a young boy. Don't you know shame? Xiaoan, I won't say anything else. You should quickly think of a way to make up for it. Also, after the wedding, Xiaoting will definitely bring Feng Chao girl to visit each room. Don't let things like the fifth room happen again." Mo Xiaoquan was, after all, the head of the family. Mo Xiaoan and Mo Xiaofu looked embarrassed and could only nod in agreement. The five of them chatted for a while more before Mo Xiaoquan and the other three left. After Mo Xiaoan sent the four of them back, he was so angry that he smashed the teapot and teacup into pieces. After calming down a little, he went to see the fifth elder. After Mo Xiaoan saw the fifth elder, he told him what had happened. "Father, although we didn't do the right thing with the greeting gifts, the other four branches didn't come over to denounce us. I think they were dissatisfied with our management in Guangshun's business, so they took the opportunity to attack us." The fifth elder was silent for a moment. He snorted coldly and said, "What you said makes sense. The big branch is still a little better, but the other three branches can't wait for us to make a mistake and snatch the business away. I was indeed wrong in thinking about this matter. You should have given the meeting gift to someone else, someone of a higher level. Then, spread the news that the fifth branch's meeting gift was originally intended to be given to the Fengchao girl along with the other branches. Now, they're afraid that people will misunderstand, so they gave it in advance." Mo Xiaoan was stunned. Then, he said in admiration, "Father, your idea is good. This way, not only will we be cleared of all wrongdoing, but we'll also drag the other four branches down with us." When the time comes, if their meeting gift is too thin, it'll be the talk of the town. The corner of the fifth elder's mouth curled up into a sneer. In our generation, we have always been fighting. However, the four of us together cannot defeat Big Brother. If it were not for Big Brother supporting Xiao Quan, the Mo family would not have fallen into his hands. Let's just endure it now. Hopefully, I can endure through the other four. When that time comes, our 5 families will be in charge of the Mo family. Mo Xiaoan naturally couldn't directly say that those 4 old fellows would definitely die in front of the 5th elder, so he said, "Father, our 5 branches will definitely have the last laugh." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After Mo Xiaoan left the 5th elder's courtyard, he called old Madame Wang over and scolded her. Old Madame Wang called her 2 daughters-in-law over and scolded her. Then, guests began to come to the Waning Moon Pavilion one after another. The first one to come was Steward Xie, who was beside old Madame Wang. After bowing, he said, "Miss Fangcao, this is a greeting gift from our madam to you. We originally planned to give it to you together with the other 4 rooms after the wedding banquet, but we thought it would be too late, so we asked this servant to send it over." Yun Chujiu saw that Steward Xie was holding 2 upper-grade spirit tools in his hands, and she said with a smile, "I cannot refuse an elder's gift, so I will thicken my skin and accept it. Please thank Grandmother Wang for my kindness." Steward Xie saw that Yun Chujiu did not intend to give him any money after she handed over the items, so he could only take his leave embarrassedly. He secretly hated Yun Chujiu in his heart. What a stingy iron rooster. This time, she would be rich. Not long after Manager Xie left, old Madame Wang's 2 daughters-in-law also sent people to deliver the greeting gifts. Although they were not as valuable as old Madame Wang's, they were still pretty good. Even Mo Fangjiao and the other 2 girls also sent their maids to deliver the greeting gifts. Regardless of whether they were valuable or not, they still meant the same thing. Yun Chujiu sneered in her heart. No wonder the Mo family was only a 3rd-class family. The knowledge of these people was really limited. They did not even know how to put on a full show. Although old Madame Wang and the others had already paid for the gifts, they had all been sent by servants. This was obviously a form of patronizing charity. Even though old Madame Wang and the others were elders and didn't need to come personally, Mo Fangjiao and the others, as their peers, should have come personally and said a few polite words. This way, they would have some face. TSK. Sooner or later, there would come a day when they wouldn't be able to reach the top. When Yun Chujiu went to pay her respects to Mo Xiaoting, she told him about the gifts she had received. Mo Xiaoting was quite pleased. He felt that Mo Xiaoan and the others' attitude had finally improved. Pan de N0VL Yun Chujiu smiled. When she returned to the New Moon Pavilion, she told Mo Xiaoting what had happened using the voice transmission talisman. After listening to the content of the voice transmission talisman, Mo Xiaoting was dumbfounded. He knew it. How could this greedy little girl Fang Chao be so quiet? It turned out that she had a big trick up her sleeve. This trick was effective immediately. The 5th wife immediately gave him a gift as a welcome gift. It was impossible for her to think that Fang Chao had planned all of this. Mo Xiaoting once again felt lucky that he did not marry Yun Chujiu to the Zhao family. Even if she was weak now, she would still soar to the sky sooner or later. Furthermore, this little girl was vengeful and would not have a good ending if she offended her. Mo Xiaoting suddenly remembered what Mo Cheng had told him. He thought about it 100 times and comforted himself that Fang Chao would never find out about this. The news of the 5th son of the Mo family giving Yun Chujiu the gift was quickly leaked out by the servants of the Mo family. The public opinion finally calmed down. However, because of this incident, More people and forces turned their attention to Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu. They wanted to see what would happen next. It was finally the day of Mo Xiaoquan's eldest son Mo Junkan's wedding. The event was naturally spectacular. Mo Junkan was most likely the future head of the Mo family, so his wedding was of a high standard. Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujiu followed the fifth son to the main room. The men and women naturally sat separately, so Yun Chujiu sat at a table with Mo Fangjiao and the others. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. It was Yun Chujiu's first time attending a wedding after she transmigrated. She watched the wedding process with interest. She felt that studying was not bad as she could use it when she got married to a gigolo. Besides Mo Fangjiao and the other three from the fifth room, there were also a few ladies from the fourth room who sat with Yun Chujiu. After they sized up Yun Chujiu, they started to whisper to Mo Fangjiao and the others. Although they were whispering, they were actually quite loud. Yun Chujiu naturally heard them clearly. "Sister Fangjiao, I heard that someone went outside to slander your fifth room because they didn't receive the greeting." The one who spoke was Mo Fangzhu from the second room. She naturally didn't have good intentions when she said these words. On the one hand, she was slandering Yun Chujiu, on the other hand, she was trying to provoke Mo Fangjiao. If Mo Fangjiao and Yun Chujiu were to fight, it would be exactly what she wanted. Mo Fangxin, who was in the third room, also chimed in, "That's right. As a person, you should know your limits. It's your duty to give her a gift but not to give her a favor. It would be shameless of you to ask for a gift yourself." The rest of the people also chimed in. The main content of the sarcasm was that Yun Chujiu went out and said that the fifth room did not give her a gift. She was really a country bumpkin from the western continent who was petty and greedy. Yun Chujiu turned a deaf ear to it. She felt that Mo Xiaoan definitely did not have any evidence to prove that she was the one who said the greeting gift. Otherwise, he would not be so calm. As for the sarcasm of the Mo family's girls, this guy did not care at all. It was just a few ducks barking. If they were willing to bark, they could bark. As for whether Mo Fangjiao, this stupid duck, would fall for it, that was not a question that she needed to consider. Naturally, the fifth chamber's people had a headache. What she needed to do was to secretly open the recording stone. Mo Fangjiao had already heard her mother talk about some meeting gifts. She had long been dissatisfied with Yun Chujiu. Now that she had been provoked by Mo Fangzhu and the others, she naturally could not contain her anger. She glared at Yun Chujiu fiercely. "Humph. Some people are inferior people from the western continent. Their eyelids are very shallow. The things from the fifth branch will be used as charity for beggars." Mo Fangzhu and the others thought that Yun Chujiu would definitely quarrel with Mo Fangjiao after hearing what Mo Fangjiao said. They did not expect Yun Chujiu to continue looking forward with great interest as if she did not hear anything. Mo Fangzhu and the others could not help but be disappointed. It seemed that Mo Fangjiao knew her own limits, so she did not dare to fall out with Mo Fangjiao. It was really disappointing. Mo Fangjiao said a few sarcastic words. Seeing that Yun Chujiu did not respond, she could not let go of the anger in her heart. She could only sit there and sulk. When the newlyweds were sent into the bridal chamber, the banquet officially began. Of course, Yun Chujiu did not stand on ceremony. She picked up whichever dish was delicious and ate happily. The ladies of the Mo family exchanged glances. This Mo Fangjiao was really an idiot. She only knew how to eat and did not have the reserved manner that a lady should have. Mo Fangzhu rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Sister Fangchao, I heard that you did not grow up in the western continent." "Yes, I grew up in the Qingxian continent," Yun Chujiu said very naturally as if she did not hear Mo Fangzhu's bad intentions. Mo Fangjiao covered her mouth with her hand. The Qing Xian continent. Isn't that the lowest grade continent? I heard that the concentration of spiritual qi there isn't even 1% of that of our eastern continent. Sister Fangchao, it's a good thing that you were found by Guang Xuanji. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to ascend to the western continent in your lifetime, let alone the eastern continent. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Fengxin's voice was very loud. Even the nearby tables of women had heard her words. These people could not help but turn their gazes towards Yun Chuzhou, wanting to hear what she had to say. Some of these women were from the Mo clan or the collateral family. There were also some from other clans. This was the first time they had seen Yun Chuzhou. However, they all roughly knew that this was a little girl from the western continent. At this time, some people were gloating, some were sympathetic, and most people were just watching the show. They all felt that this Mo Fangchao had been scarred by someone, and they were either angry and noisy. Or they were silently crying out of self-pity, but Yun Chuzhou's next performance shocked them. Sister Fangjiao, you're right. I grew up on a low-level continent, and the concentration of spiritual qi there is even less than 1% of the eastern continent, but so what? I am now at the 6th level of the spiritual venerable realm. Although I am much lower than the other sisters, I feel that if I grew up in the same environment, some people might not be able to practice as fast as me, right? Actually, I feel that there is no point in discussing a person's background. When you stand at the peak, no matter how humble your background is, there will naturally be people who will help you beautify it. However, when you are at the bottom, no matter how noble your background was in the past, it will only leave a topic for others to talk about after dinner. Moreover, you don't eat, you don't speak, you don't sleep, and you don't speak. I, a country bumpkin from a low-grade continent, don't know the rules. My sisters and sisters should also know the rules, right? It's better to eat quickly. Otherwise, if this dish gets cold, it won't taste good. Wasting it is the most shameful act. After Yun Chuzhou finished speaking, she picked up her chopsticks and continued eating, as if the long speech just now was not what she said. The faces of Mo Fangjiao and the others present turned green and white, especially Mo Fangjiao who wished she could find a hole to hide in. She really wanted to refute Yun Chuzhou, but she found that there was no room for rebuttal. Say what? Could it be that what Yun Chuzhou said was wrong? She had already cultivated to the 6th level of the spiritual venerable realm on a continent with such low spiritual power. How could she say that her cultivation was slow? If it were them, they might not even be able to reach the level of spiritual emperor. Moreover, although the people who cultivated did not have the rules and regulations of the secular world, the higher the level of the family, the stricter the rules were. They knew that they had to eat without speaking, sleep without speaking. They had mocked and ridiculed her for a long time, and it was really a little embarrassing. Some of the other clan's madams were shocked and they heard Yun Chuzhou's words. This little girl from the western continent was really sharp-tongued. Her counterattack was really beautiful. However, it was a pity that this little girl was from the western continent. Although she was eloquent and was good at doing business, her starting point was too low. She still could not catch up to these girls from the eastern continent. The few girls from the Mo family looked embarrassed. Although they hated Yun Chuzhou to death, they could not say anything. After all, there were so many people watching them. Yun Chuzhou could not be bothered with them. It would be better if they did not eat. It just so happened that she ate more. The few girls from the Mo family looked at Yun Chuzhou as she ate. They cursed in their hearts. She was really a good-for-nothing. She only knew how to eat. It would be better if she choked to death. Yun Chuzhou ate all their grievances and felt that it was a different feeling. After the wedding banquet ended, Yun Chuzhou followed old Madame Wang and the others back to the 5th room. Yun Chujiu had just entered the waning moon pavilion when Mo Fangjiao angrily followed her in. Mo Fangjiao. You ate our fifth room and lived in our fifth room. Now, you actually embarrassed me in front of everyone. Do you still have any shame? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Sister Fangjiao, are you just going to stand there and discuss shamelessness with me? Sit down and tell me. Yun Chujiu sat on a stone bench and pointed at another stone bench as she said to Mo Fangjiao. Mo Fangjiao felt a huge force hit the cotton and she was so angry that she started to twitch. Mo Fangjiao, stop talking about him. Apologize to me right now, or I will not let you off. After saying that, Mo Fangjiao glared at Yun Chujiu fiercely. Chun Xiao and Chun Yu stood at the side, nervously staring at Yun Chujiu, thinking that this was bad. Miss Fangjiao would definitely not apologize. When the time came, Miss Fangjiao might make a move. If they made a move, who would they help? Mo Fangjiao also felt that Yun Chujiu would definitely not apologize. She had already thought it through. As long as Yun Chujiu argued with her, she would take the opportunity to teach this ungrateful brat a lesson. At worst, she would just be punished, at least she could vent her anger. I'm sorry. What did you say? Mo Fangjiao was dumbfounded. What? This country bumpkin apologized so easily. Didn't you ask me to apologize to you? Sister Fangjiao, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let you down, alright? Chun Xiao, I ate a little too much tonight. Hurry up and make me a pot of tea. I need to digest my food, Yun Chujiu said with a smile. Chun Xiao was stunned for a moment and then ran to make tea. This Miss Fangjiao was really unconventional. She had never seen an apology so calm. It was as if she was not apologizing, but rather. It was as if she was coaxing an insensible child. Mo Fangjiao was stunned for a moment and then slammed the stone table. You're just perfunctory. Yun Chujiu spread her hands. Sister Fangjiao, my apology is sincere enough. Do you want me to cry and apologize to you? Mo Fangjiao couldn't say a word. She felt even more depressed than before. This Mo Fangjiao had clearly apologized, so why did she feel even more embarrassed? At this moment, Chun Xiao brought over a pot of tea. Yun Chujiu took the teapot and poured 2 cups of tea. She used her hands to test the temperature, then, she said, Sister Fangjiao, Sister has used tea as a substitute for wine to apologize to you. I'll drink first as a token of respect. Sister Fangjiao, you look like an open-minded and reasonable person. You want forgive Sister, right? Yun Chujiu picked up a cup of tea and drank it in one gulp. Then, she looked at Mo Fangjiao with a smile. Pan Dn0 Vel. Calm Mo Fangjiao wished she could pick up the teacup and splash the tea on Yun Chujiu's face. However, she was stopped by Yun Chujiu's words, so she could only pick up the teacup and drink it in one gulp. Mo Fangjiao, since you are so sensible, I will let you off this time. If there is a next time, I will teach you a lesson. After Mo Fangjiao finished her harsh words, she gritted her teeth and left. Yun Chujiu's eyes flashed as she watched Mo Fangjiao leave. Mo Fangjiu's impulsive temper wasn't particularly annoying, but Mo Fangjiu from the second branch was a pure white lotus. It was better to be careful. The next day, after Mo Xiaoting and Mo Xiaoan had a discussion, Mo Xiaoan accompanied Yun Chujiu to the other 4 branches. Originally, Mo Xiaoan did not need to accompany her personally, but he had his own plans. Firstly, he wanted to see how the other 4 rooms treated Mo Xiaoting and what gifts they would give him. Secondly, he wanted to prevent the other rooms from talking about Mo Xiaoting. Thirdly, he wanted to see the first elder's health. The first room they went to was naturally the main room, which was the residence of the current master, Mo Xiaoquan. Mo Xiaoquan had reprimanded Mo Xiaoan previously, so he naturally had to lead by example. So, as soon as Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou entered the main house, they felt the warmth of spring. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Fengchao girl is really pretty. I heard that she knows how to do business. What a lovely girl. Quickly come to grandmother Tian and let her have a good look. Mo Xiaoquan's wife, old Madame Tian, said amiably. Yun Chuzhou was not shy. She walked up to old Madame Tian and said, Grandmother Tian, I'm embarrassed by your praise. How can I be as good as you say? I am far from being as good as my sisters. My sisters are like the bright moon in the sky, and I am like a pebble on the ground. This little mouth really knows how to speak. This 8 treasures ice silk bracelet is a gift from Grandmother Tian. Come, Grandmother Tian will help you put it on. As old Madame Tian spoke, she put a crystal clear bracelet on Yun Chuzhou's left wrist. Yun Chuzhou thought to herself, old Madame Tian was much more troublesome than old Madame Wang. No wonder she was the wife of the patriarch. After Yun Chuzhou thanked her, she said a few more words of flattery. All she said was that old Madame Tian was young. In an instant, the room was filled with laughter and harmony. Seeing the harmonious atmosphere, Mo Xiaoan felt a little uneasy. With this comparison, it seemed like the 5th chamber was not treating Mo Xiaoting and his grandson very warmly. Mo Xiaoan rolled his eyes and said, Big brother, Xiaoting is mainly here to pay his respects to first uncle. Why don't you lead us to first uncle's courtyard? Mo Xiaoquan couldn't help but sneer at Mo Xiaoan's words. He knew why Mo Xiaoan was so determined to pay his respects to first elder. Wasn't it because he wanted to check on first elder's condition? Unfortunately, his wishful thinking was in vain. His father was a divine schemer. He had long guessed that he was going to do this, so he had made ample preparations. He could use this opportunity to intimidate the 5 houses. Of course. Brother Xiaoting, come with me, Mo Xiaoquan said politely. Mo Xiaoan's eyes flashed, and he also raised his leg to follow. Since he was going to greet the great elder, it would not be good for Mo Xiaoquan to chase him away. Yun Chuzhou's heart skipped a beat. The first elder was the biggest lackey in the Mo family. This was a good opportunity. So, the shameless man said, Grandfather Quan, can I go with you? I've always heard that the first elder is not only talented in spiritual energy, he is also very wise. I would like to listen to his teachings. Mo Xiaoquan's face froze. It was rare to see a girl who could flatter him so naturally. He coughed and said, Of course you can. You can go with us. After Mo Xiaoquan and the others left, the people who stayed behind commented on Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou. Only one girl in a white dress had a cold look in her eyes. This Mo Fengchao looked heartless, but she was actually quite scheming. Did she really think that she would benefit from meeting her great-grandfather? She was really naive. Yun Chuzhou followed Mo Xiaoquan and the others and finally arrived outside a courtyard. Yun Chuzhou sniffed. The smell of medicinal pills. Could it be that this great elder knew how to refine pills? Mo Xiaoan's eyes flashed and asked with concern, Big brother, why is there such a strong smell of medicinal pills here? Is there something wrong with uncle's body? Mo Xiaoquan glanced at him indifferently, causing Mo Xiaoan's expression to become embarrassed. Only then did he say, Father's body is very tough. However, he has been refining a grade 14 blood creation pill recently. Judging from this fragrance, Father has probably succeeded in refining it. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Xiaoan could not help but feel disappointed when he heard Mo Xiaoquan's words. He had thought that the first elder's illness was incurable. He had not expected that he would still have the strength to refine pills. He reckoned that he would not die for a while. What an old man! At this moment, a loud shout came from within. Is that shouting? Come in. Mo Xiaoquan smiled. It seems that father has already noticed us. Let's go in quickly. Mo Xiaoan was even more disappointed when he heard the great elder's energetic voice. He followed Mo Xiaoquan into the courtyard. Yun Chujiu secretly looked at the great elder's courtyard. The courtyard was very spacious. Other than a small road paved with bluestone, the rest of the place was planted with all kinds of herbs. It seemed that the great elder really knew how to refine pills. A maid opened the door curtain and Mo Xiaoquan and the others entered the study room on the east side. There was no one else in the spacious study room. Everyone couldn't help but wonder, where was the first elder? At this moment, an old man with white hair and a beard walked in from outside the door. His body carried a strong medicinal fragrance. He laughed heartily. I just successfully refined a batch of blood creation pills and now am seeing Xiao Ting again. Today is truly a double celebration. Seeing this, Mo Xiaoting quickly stepped forward and bowed. Yun Chujiu also followed behind Mo Xiaoting and bowed. The first elder waved his hand. We're all family, there's no need for so much red tape. All of you, get up. Pan de N0VL. Seeing that the first elder was full of energy, Mo Xiaoan felt a chill down his spine. It looked like this old man was going to live for at least another few decades. The fifth wife would not be able to take over for a while. The first elder asked a few questions, but they were all polite questions. Mo Xiaoting replied respectfully. The first elder turned his gaze to Yun Chujiu and said kindly, Fang Chao may be young, but she is quite smart. I heard that you came up with the idea for the 7 stars lucky card. Thank you, great-grandfather, for your praise. Although I am not good at cultivation, I still have a lot of ideas. Great elder, you still know how to refine pills. I admire alchemists the most in my life. Although I also know how to refine some low-level pills, compared to you, the difference is like heaven and earth. Sigh, it's a pity that I can't be by your side often. Otherwise, I would definitely learn from you. Yun Chujiu sighed and said. Oh. The little girl also knows how to refine pills. Which level of pills do you know how to refine? The great elder asked with interest. He was just asking casually. He felt that Yun Chujiu could only refine level 5 or 6 pills. After all, she was a little girl from an inferior continent. I can refine level 10 pills, but the quality is not particularly good. I can only guarantee an 80% success rate. Half of them will be high grade. Yun Chujiu said with a smile. This fellow felt that this level was just right. It wasn't too eye-catching, but it also showed a certain talent in alchemy. It should be enough for fishing. As expected, everyone was shocked, especially Mo Xiaoting. He had no idea that his granddaughter, apart from her business talent, could also refine pills. And she was able to refine level 10 pills at such a young age. Even on the eastern continent, such talent was considered pretty good. However, the great elder and the others felt that Yun Chujiu was bragging. In particular, the great elder originally had a good impression of Yun Chujiu because the words that Yun Chujiu said at the wedding banquet had already reached his ears. He felt that this little girl was eloquent and had an optimistic and tenacious character. He did not expect that she would actually brag now. She was really useless. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The first elder's face darkened. Fang Chao, although being competitive is a good thing, honesty is the most important thing. Lying is not something a good kid should do. Mo Xiaoquan chimed in, "That's right, Feng Chao, how can you refine a level 10 pill at such a young age? Not to mention you, even some alchemists on the eastern continent couldn't do it, let alone an 80% success rate and half a high-quality pill." Hearing this, Mo Xiaoting also felt that Yun Chuzhou was messing around. His face darkened. "Feng Chao, stop messing around. Hurry up and apologize." Yun Chuzhou had an innocent look. "I really know how to refine level 10 pills. If you don't believe me, I will refine a batch of level 10 pills for you." Mo Xiaoting was about to reprimand Yun Chuzhou when the first elder said, "All right, since Feng Chao said that she really knows how to refine level 10 pills, then let's refine a level 10 Yuan Ling pill." Mo Xiaoting glared at Yun Chuzhou. It was hard to stop now. If the refinement of the grass did not succeed, the first elder would definitely scold her. This little girl was really being ridiculous. The first elder brought a few people to the alchemy room on the west side. There was a specially purchased earth fire inside that could be used to refine pills as soon as the switch was turned on. Yun Chuzhou felt that the design of this earth fire was much more advanced than that of the Tian Yuan continent. She randomly took out a clean alchemy furnace from her storage ring and placed it on top of the earth fire. This alchemy furnace was prepared by Yun Chuzhou for the heaven and earth heaven and earth heaven and earth heaven and earth heaven furnace, so she did not recognize it as her master. If she did not recognize it as her master, she would not be able to refine pills. So, she bit her index finger and began to refine the alchemy furnace. Mo Xiaoting felt a headache coming on. How could an alchemist not have a dedicated alchemy furnace? This person was amazing. She actually refined it on the spot. One look and it was obvious that she was unreliable. If the first elder were to blame her later, it could only be said that she was too young and immature. This herb was really troublesome. The first elder and the other two had the same thoughts as Mo Xiaoting. Which alchemist didn't have their own furnace? This little girl was indeed bragging. Yun Chuzhou thought back to the method of refining the origin spirit pill. She wanted to hide her weakness, so she did not adjust the amount of herbs as she usually did. Instead, she began to refine the pill step by step. The first elder was an expert. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou's portion and steps were correct, he felt a little relieved. Perhaps this little girl really knew how to refine pills. While Yun Chuzhou was refining, although she did not add any medicinal herbs, her spiritual sense had been observing the changes of the medicinal herbs in the pill refining furnace. Suddenly, Yun Chuzhou frowned slightly. The great elder and the others saw it and guessed in their hearts that this little girl had probably forgotten some of the steps. Although she looked decent, she still lacked maturity. How could they know that Yun Chuzhou was not worried about the failure of the pill at this moment? Instead, she realized that the purity of the medicinal herbs provided by the great elder was too good, so the pill's success rate might reach 90%, and they were all high-grade. This was not in line with this fellow's intention to hide his true strength. What should she do? Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and suddenly opened the pill refining furnace's lid. Then, she picked up a section of fallen petals vine and threw it into the pill refining furnace. The great elder was so angry that his white beard was trembling. Nonsense! Nonsense! The biggest taboo in alchemy is to open the lid of the alchemy furnace halfway. Your alchemy furnace will be ruined for sure. What you did before was clearly right, but you just had to make things worse. How infuriating! This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Although Mo Xiaoquan and Mo Xiaoan didn't know how to refine pills, they knew that they couldn't open the lid during the process. They shook their heads. This Feng Chao didn't even know about the taboo of pill refinement, yet she was still bragging about how she knew how to refine pills. How ridiculous. Mo Xiating's forehead was covered in sweat. The first elder was the actual person in charge of the Mo family. If Feng Chao caused such a ruckus, it would definitely upset him. They might even expel them back to the western continent. Feng Chao was such a bad person. Yun Chuzhou did not seem to notice the reaction of the crowd. She smiled. First elder, my alchemy is different from others. Every time I make a pill, I add some herbs into it. I don't know if it's because of my mental state, but after doing this, I feel more confident that I can successfully refine a pill every time. Everyone's faces froze. Was this a joke? Mental state? This was pure nonsense. Pan DN0 Vel. Calm. If it wasn't for the fact that there were other people present, Mo Xiaoting would have scolded Yun Chuzhou. He could ignore other things, but if he were to cause trouble in front of First Elder, wouldn't he be looking for trouble? He really shouldn't have let her follow him. However, Mo Xiaoting noticed that the fragrance of a pill began to spread from the furnace. Could it be that he had successfully refined a pill? Mo Xiaoting shook his head again. It was probably because the herbs had already been refined into a medicinal liquid that the fragrance was present. Even if the pill was successfully refined, it would be lucky if there were 2 or 3 completed pills. Mo Xiaoting felt a little relieved. No matter what, it wasn't too embarrassing that the herb girl did not blow up the furnace. The 3 elders shared the same thoughts as Mo Xiaoting. Although there was a difference between what she said and what she said, it was still okay. At least she didn't mess up or blow up the furnace. A moment later, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, it's a success. I told you, as long as I add some herbs into it, I will definitely succeed. Mo Xiaoting couldn't hold it in any longer. Enough. You should change your reckless attitude. Uncle, Feng Chao is still young and doesn't know what she's talking about. Don't mind her. The first elder nodded. It's okay for young people to be arrogant. But, Feng Chao, your alchemy skills are quite good. It's just that you need to change your habit of adding herbs into it. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to succeed. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. Great old master, what you said makes sense. I just lack the guidance of a master like you. Otherwise, I would have thought that this strange habit would be beneficial to my alchemy. The great elder saw that Yun Chuzhou was humbly accepting the criticism and his impression of her changed slightly. Then, he said, it's great that you know your mistakes and can improve. When you go back, you can ask Xiao Ting to help you hire an alchemy master. Who knows, you might have some achievements in the future. Although the great elder's words were vague, everyone present could hear the hidden meaning. It was a clear rejection of Yun Chuzhou's intention to learn alchemy from him. However, this was also within everyone's expectations. Not to mention that Yun Chuzhou did not have an 80% success rate in refining pills. Even if she had achieved it, the possibility of the great elder personally guiding her was very slim. First of all, the great elder's identity was still there. How could he carefully teach a junior who was about to produce 5 servings of pills? What did these juniors of the family think? Second, the great elder was already very old. How could he have the time and energy to teach people how to refine pills? At this moment, Yun Chuzhou said clearly, Great elder, what you said makes sense. I have learned. However, shouldn't we see if I succeeded in refining the pills? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Hearing this, Mo Xiaoting glared at Yun Chuzhou. The reason why no one had checked the furnace was to save her some face. After all, she was just a little girl and they were afraid that she would be embarrassed. Who would have thought that she would take the initiative to bring it up? If that's the case, then open the lid of the furnace. The first elder shook his head. The little girl was still too young and impetuous. She wouldn't give up until she hit a wall. Yun Chuzhou opened the lid of the alchemy furnace with a smile. Then, her small face twitched and she sighed. Sigh, the great master is right. I still need some time. The great elder and the others were standing some distance away from the operating table, so they didn't see the situation inside the alchemy furnace. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, they understood in their hearts that the pill's success rate was probably less than 30%. Feng Chao, you are still young. It's already good enough that you were able to refine a primordial spirit pill. Don't be discouraged. Keep up the good work in the future, Mo Xiaoquan said amiably. That's right. After all, a primordial spirit pill is a level 10 pill. Even if you were able to refine one successfully, it would still be amazing, Mo Xiaoan comforted Yun Chujio even though he was secretly gloating. Mo Xiaoting glared at Yun Chujio, do you know how high the heavens are now? You even bragged about an 80% success rate. But, what happened? In the past, grandfather warned you not to be arrogant. But, you are showing off in front of your uncle. When you return home, you should reflect on yourself. The reason why Mo Xiaoting said this was to shut the first elder's mouth so that he wouldn't take the opportunity to punish Yun Chujio. The first elder naturally understood what Mo Xiaoting meant and smiled indifferently. He was already so old, so he didn't want to argue with a little girl. However, he originally wanted to test out this Mo Fengchao. But now, it seemed there was no need. Grandfather, everything you said is correct, but, I refined 8 original spirit pills. I'm just a little regretful. Only 4 of them are high-grade pills. I originally thought that there would be 6 high-grade pills this time. Yun Chujio said with a regretful expression. Everyone rushed to the front of the alchemy furnace in one go. They saw that other than the residue of some medicinal herbs at the bottom of the alchemy furnace, there were 8 round pills. 4 of them were clearly high-grade pills with a round luster, the other 4 were slightly lacking in luster and were middle grade. Everyone was stunned. It was actually successfully refined. How was this possible? Didn't they say that it was a big taboo to open the lid of the alchemy furnace halfway? Moreover, the little girl had added a section of fallen petals vine into it. How was it possible for it to reach an 80% pill refinement rate? And it was even of such high quality. After everyone recovered from their shock, they felt a little embarrassed. After all, each and every one of them had been acting like garlic for half a day just now, but now they were slapped in the face. The first elder coughed twice. Feng Chao girl, refine another batch of level 10 bone grafting pills. Yun Chujio nodded. After washing the pill refining furnace, she began to refine the bone grafting pills step by step. This fellow had gained experience this time, so he didn't need to adjust it halfway. Directly at the beginning of the refinement, she deliberately increased the temperature a little. This way, the pill's success rate and the quality of the pill would be reduced. Everyone smelled a burnt smell. A thought flashed through their minds at the same time. It seemed that this little girl had hit the nail on the head. A blind cat met a dead rat. This time, her true colors were revealed. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo shouting comforted himself. No matter what, he had done it just now. So what if he did it this time? It wasn't too embarrassing. Mo Xiaoquan and Mo Xiaoan relaxed a little. Both Mo Xiaoquan and Mo Xiaoan did not want Yun Chujio to really enter the first elder's eyes. The reason was obvious. If the first elder really personally taught Yun Chujio how to refine pills, what would the others think? That would make the younger generation of the family appear to be too useless and incompetent. The first elder did not have many thoughts. He only wanted to verify whether Yun Chujio had the talent to refine pills. As for whether or not he wanted to teach her how to refine pills, that was not something he had to consider now. After 15 minutes, the medicinal fragrance began to spread out from the pill furnace, covering up the burning smell at the beginning. Everyone was puzzled. It was clearly the burning smell from before. How could the medicinal fragrance still come out? After a while, Yun Chujio finished the pill refinement. She sighed and said, "I did not control the fire well before. I reckon that the pill's success rate and quality won't be too good." Fong Chao girl opened the lid of the pill refining furnace first. The great elder had learned his lesson this time. It was better not to make a conclusion for now. If he was slapped in the face again, there would be no place to put his old face. Yun Chujio nodded and obediently opened the lid of the pill refining furnace. Then, she heard a few gasps. How is this possible? Didn't you just refine it into paste? Why is there still an 80% success rate? Moreover, there are 3 high-grade pills. Mo Xiaoan asked in disbelief. Not to mention him, even the great elder was puzzled. According to common sense, if the fire was not properly controlled at the beginning, then it would be pretty good if this cauldron of pills could achieve a 60% success rate, not to mention such a high-grade pill. How did this little girl do it? The great elder directly asked the question. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Great elder, what you said is too profound. I don't really understand. I refined it based on intuition." The great elder's heart shook. Intuition? Could it be that this little girl was born to be an alchemist? Speaking of which, if it wasn't for her great talent in alchemy, a little girl from a low-level continent like her would never be able to reach the level of a 10th-rank alchemist no matter what. Although many thoughts surged in the great elder's heart for a moment, there was no change on his face. He praised, "It seems that Fong Chao isn't bluffing. She is indeed a level 10 alchemist. As expected of our Mo clan's blood and bone. Tianzi is indeed extraordinary." The great elder's heart moved when he said this. Tianzi. This little girl heard that she had a heavenly thunder spirit root. That was right. It was probably because she had a heavenly thunder spirit root that she had a certain talent in alchemy. Pan Dn0 Vel. Calm however, when he remembered that Yun Chujio had a heavenly thunder spirit root, the grand elder's thoughts became a little more complicated. The heavenly thunder spirit root was something that the Tian Dao could not tolerate. Sooner or later, it would be wiped out by the Tian Dao. What a pity. Yun Chujio humbly said a few words. She tactfully did not mention the words of letting the grand elder teach her alchemy. There were some things that could not be rushed. Take your time. There was no rush. The great elder encouraged Yun Chujio a few more words, then, for the first time, he took out an alchemy furnace and said to Yun Chujio, "Fong Chao girl, I saw that the alchemy furnace you used just now was too low grade. This Taotai pattern alchemy furnace was used by me in the past. You can take it and use it." "Thank you, great master. This is really great. In the future, when I see an alchemy furnace, it will be as if I heard your teachings with my own ears. I will definitely continue to work hard," Yun Chujio said with a face full of gratitude. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The corners of Mo Xiaoting's eyes twitched. "Fuck, isn't your flattery a little too obvious?" But, to his surprise, the first elder seemed to be enjoying it. He laughed, "You little girl, you sure have a sweet mouth. Go back and train hard." Yun Chujio nodded obediently and did not continue to flatter him. After all, flattery was a skill and flattery was bad for the legs, so it was more or less enough. Everyone returned to the study room and exchanged a few pleasantries. The first elder picked up his teacup and everyone tactfully stood up to leave. Mo Xiaoquan originally wanted to keep Mo Xiaoting for lunch, but seeing that Mo Xiaoting insisted on leaving, he had no choice but to escort the three of them out of the mansion. Mo Xiaoquan turned around and returned to the first elder's courtyard. At this time, the first elder was hunched and looked completely different from before. "Xiaoquan, have they all left?" Mo Xiaoquan nodded, then asked worriedly, "Father, are you all right? You shouldn't have taken that tiger and wolf medicine. They'll just find an excuse to prevent them from coming to see you." "Sigh, my body can't hold on for much longer anyway. The fifth elder is eyeing me like a tiger, and those few aren't well behaved either. If I don't show up, they'll definitely come over to probe me endlessly. Others may think that the great patriarch of the Mo family is very impressive, but in reality, Lang Nuan knows his own limits. When a disaster strikes, it is the beginning of the destruction of a family. We absolutely cannot allow such a situation to happen. When the day comes when I am about to fail, I will bring those 4 troublemakers along with me. I will not leave any trouble for you." Although Mo Xiaoquan's heart was relieved, he felt a slight chill on his back. His expression was naturally a little unnatural. Pan Dan 0 Vel. C0M. The great elder was well versed in the ways of the world and naturally understood what he was thinking. He snorted coldly, "Do you think that I am too ruthless and merciless? Humph. You are good in every way, but you are too indecisive. Yes, I admit that it is indeed a little too ruthless to kill them all. However, as long as I am dead, if the 4 of them are still alive, they will definitely force you to give up the position of family head. When that time comes, the Mo family will be in a bloodbath. When that time comes, it won't be a matter of 4 people dying. It's very likely that the Mo family will be replaced by someone and uprooted." Mo Xiaoquan's face revealed a look of shame. "Father, your son has realized his mistake. In the end, it's still because your son's ability isn't enough. There's no way to convince the other 4 chambers and make you worry." The great elder sighed. "I've seen your hard work. It's just that with your character, your progress is limited. Yonghui and Jun Kun are also more than capable. If they don't develop enough, they might not be as good as you in the future. Therefore, I have to settle those 4 troublemakers. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with them in the future." Mo Xiaoquan's face was filled with shame when he heard the great elder's words. He knew that what the great elder said was the truth. Once the great elder died, the other 4 branches would have the support of the elders in the family to force them out of the palace. At that time, the Mo family would definitely fall into chaos. The father and son were silent for a moment. Mo Xiaoquan had nothing to say and wanted to find something to talk about. He wanted to adjust the atmosphere and asked, "Father, what do you think of Xiao Ting and Fang Chao girl?" Xiao Ting people are very shrewd, but their horizons are limited. As for that Fang Chao girl, she has somewhat exceeded my expectations. According to the information you gathered, the matter of the meeting gift was probably designed by this little girl alone. In addition to the words she said at the wedding banquet, this little girl is very intelligent and is quite scheming, the first elder said thoughtfully. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. "Father, could she be the one who planned the meeting gift? It can't be, right? Where did a little girl like her get the guts? If Shaoan knew about it, he would definitely not let her off easily." Mo Xiaoquan said in disapproval. The first elder could not help but sigh. "Look, even when I said that it was her who did it, you didn't believe it. Do you think Shaoan would think that it was her who did it? This little girl is bold and careful. If it was a boy, we could really nurture him. Unfortunately, it's a girl, and she has a heavenly thunder spirit root. We can only give up. Father, even if the meeting gift was designed by her, it's just a small trick. How is it worthy of your praise? If the meeting gift is a small trick, then what she said at Junkin's wedding banquet shows that this little girl has a world within her. Moreover, she also has the talent of alchemy and business. She is really a good seedling. Unfortunately, she is not a boy and she has the heavenly thunder spirit root that the heavenly Tao does not allow. The great elder shook his head regretfully. However, Mo Xiaoquan felt that the great elder was exaggerating a little. She is just a slightly smarter little girl. She is not as amazing as the great elder said. Fortunately, she is a little girl, otherwise, she might even threaten Jun Kun's position. Yun Chuzhou, who was being discussed by the two, had just returned to the fifth house of the Mo family. She was going to visit the second house of the Mo family after lunch. Mo Xiaoting was naturally happy. He never thought that Feng Chao would actually know how to refine pills. To be able to refine level 10 pills at such a young age was definitely one of the best in the Western continent. After returning home, he was going to train her well. Perhaps, the Mo family would produce a high-level alchemist in the future. Although Mo Xiaoan did not show it on his face, he was feeling depressed. He originally thought that the first elder was about to die, but he did not expect him to be so energetic and disappointed. Mo Xiaoan took the time to meet with the fifth elder and explained the situation to him. The fifth elder was also disappointed, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't possibly send someone to kill the first elder, right? Besides, he couldn't kill the first elder even if he wanted to. Not only did the first elder have a high level of spiritual energy, but the building was also heavily guarded. There was no chance for him to make a move. In the afternoon, Mo Xiaoan wasn't in the mood to accompany Mo Xiaoting to the second branch. So, he asked his eldest son, Mo Yongfei, to accompany him. Yun Chuzhou couldn't help but wonder why the Mo family had rules when it came to names. For example, Mo Xiaoquan, Mo Xiaoting, Mo Fengjiao, and Mo Fengqin. Why didn't Mo Cheng use the word Yong in their names? This guy couldn't take it anymore. Before Mo Yongfei arrived, he had already asked his question. Mo Xiaoting's expression was a little unnatural as he explained the situation briefly. It turned out, when Mo Xiaoting's father was still alive, there was a period when he didn't get along well with the Mo family. But, the Mo family was too powerful, so he didn't dare to do anything. So, when he gave his three grandsons names, he erased the word Yong. In reality, this was a form of self-deception. The family tree had the word Yong on it. On the side of the family, there was Mo Yongpeng, Mo Yongcheng, and Mo Yongchang. The corner of Yun Chujia's eyes twitched. This great-grandfather was indeed interesting. Unfortunately, he died early and wasn't fated to meet. After a while, Mo Yongfei arrived. His attitude was quite good. It was likely that Mo Xiaoan had instructed him. Soon, the three of them arrived at the Mo family's second son. Although the Mo family's second son had a good attitude, he wasn't as warm as the eldest son. Even when Mo Xiaoting asked to meet the second elder, Mo Xiaofu found an excuse to reject him. They had already given him their gifts, which were almost the same as the fifth son's. Yun Chuzhou had also made a small fortune, so she was in a good mood. Some people couldn't bear to see Yun Chuzhou in a good mood. While everyone was drinking tea and chatting, Mo Fengzhu smiled and said, "Sister Fengchao, what you said at the wedding banquet really touched me deeply. I think you are also a talented person. Qin, Qi, calligraphy, and painting. I wonder if sister is good at them or what kind. Why don't you show us what you're good at? It'll be an eye-opener for my sister." Mo Fengzhu said this because she knew a lot about these things. She had been humiliated by Yun Chuzhou at the wedding banquet and wanted to get back at her. Moreover, She felt that Yun Chujia's personality was too impetuous and didn't seem to be talented. What she said before was just a blind cat hitting a dead mouse. Hearing Mo Fang's question, everyone's attention turned to Yun Chujio. Mo shouting furrowed his brows. The little girl's handwriting was like a dog's crawl. He had never heard her play the zither before. Moreover, with her personality, playing chess was even worse. Unless she was drawing, it wasn't going to be easy. Mo Fangzhu looked at Mo Xiaoting's expression and felt even more confident. It looked like Mo Fangzhu was an ignorant idiot. Yun Chujio smiled, Sister Fangzhu, I know everything about zither, chess, calligraphy and painting, but this doesn't reflect my talent. How about this? If I write a word, you will definitely mispronounce it. Sister Fangzhu, you must be joking. Although I'm not talented, I still know all the words. Mo Fangzhu was so angry that she was about to laugh. She had started reading at the age of 3, how could there be words that she did not know? Since that's the case, shall we make a bet? If you mispronounce the words that I wrote, Sister Fangzhu will lose 100,000 high-grade spirit stones to me. If you don't mispronounce the words, then I will lose 100,000 high-grade spirit stones to you. Sister Fangzhu, do you dare to make a bet with me? Yun Chujio said with a slightly provocative tone, since she had nothing to do, torturing the white lotus flower to pass the time was not a bad idea. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Mo Fangzhu certainly would not admit defeat. Alright, it's a deal. You can write it. However, we can agree that it can't be ancient characters or foreign characters. Of course. Immediately, a servant carried a small square table and prepared a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Yun Chujio walked up to her, picked up a pen, and scribbled a word. When Mo Fangzhu saw that word, she almost fainted from anger. You're cheating. What you wrote was wrong, of course, no matter how I read it, it was wrong. Mo Fangzhu almost shouted out. Only now did she understand that Yun Chujio was playing a trick on her. Yun Chujio said with an aggrieved expression, Sister Fangzhu, I was just making a harmless joke. Why are you so anxious? In that case, I don't want your 100,000 high-grade spirit stones anymore. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. Mo Fangzhu's face flushed red. Yun Chujio's words made her seem like she was too narrow-minded to make a joke, and she was even more reluctant to part with 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. She gritted her teeth in anger and said, Humph. Although you won by means, am willing to admit defeat. Isn't it just 100,000 high-grade spirit stones? What's so great about it? Yun Chujio naturally would not push the spirit stones that were delivered to her door out. She smiled and said, since Sister Fangzhu insists on giving it to me, then I'll shamelessly accept it. Thank you, Sister Fangzhu. Mo Fangzhu glared at her. She wasn't in the mood to let Yun Chujio perform any zither, chess, calligraphy, or painting. She wanted to strangle her on the spot. With this incident, the atmosphere in the room became even more awkward. Mo Xiaoting felt like he was sitting on pins and needles as he quickly stood up and left. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After returning to room 5, Mo Xiaoting called Yun Chujio into the study room in his courtyard and closed the door. He lowered his voice and said, Fang Chao, why did you offend Fang Zhu of the second wife? Although only room 5 has business relations with us, it's not good to upset the second wife. Grandfather, Mo Fangzhu doesn't like me to begin with. She was the one who instigated Mo Fangjiao to target me at the wedding banquet. If I wasn't smart, Mo Fangjiao might have beaten me up. Besides, grandfather, do you think that even if we fawn over the other branches, they will treat us like human beings? Yun Chujio sneered. Although Mo Shouting did not think that Yun Chujia's words were nice, he had to admit that Yun Chujia's words made sense. Even after the incident with the gifts had passed, the attitude of the family had improved. However, the disdain and contempt in his eyes were not hidden at all. His heart was filled with anxiety. Feng Chao, even if what you said makes sense, what can we do? Our small arms can't beat our thighs. Let's just hold on for a while longer and go back, Mo Shouting sighed. No, grandfather, we now have a chance. A great opportunity to let the Mo family return to the eastern continent. Yun Chujia's eyes flashed with a bright light. Mo Shouting was pleasantly surprised. Feng Chao, aren't you trying to coax grandfather? Is there really a way for the Mo family to return to the eastern continent? Yun Chujio nodded and peeked through the door. Chun Xiao was following her instructions and was talking to the two maids in the courtyard. She then lowered her voice and said, "Grandfather, if everything goes according to plan, it will be extremely difficult for the Mo family to return to the eastern continent. Firstly, the Mo family doesn't like us, and secondly, they want us to work for them in the western continent. So, they won't allow us to join their family. So, we can only take a risk and take a gamble." Mo Shouting nodded his head. Yun Chujia's words made sense. He could tell that the Mo family had no intention of letting them join their family. Feng Chao, what's the solution? Don't keep us guessing. Yun Chujio did not answer, but instead asked, "Grandfather, why do you think Mo Xiaoan followed us to the main house? Why didn't he accompany us to the second house in the afternoon?" Mo Shouting was stunned. Didn't he say that he had something to deal with in the afternoon? Pa-and-Novl Yun Chujio smiled. "Grandfather, do you believe him? This is just an excuse. Haven't you noticed that Mo Xiaoan has been preoccupied ever since he returned from the main house?" Mo Shouting did not pay much attention at first, but after hearing what Yun Chujio said, he thought about it and realized that it was true. When he left, Mo Xiaoan was still talking and laughing, but when he returned, he was obviously much quieter. "After hearing what you said, it's true. But, what does this have to do with us? Did we upset him in some way?" Mo Shouting still did not understand what Yun Chujio was trying to say. "Grandfather, if you look closely, you will realize that Mo Zioan's mood was bad the moment he saw the first elder. What do you think this is about?" Mo Shouting was stunned for a moment before his mouth fell open. He was a wily old fox, so he was well aware of the power struggle between families. He then recalled that Mo Xiaoan had once asked Mo Xiaoquan if there was something wrong with the first elder's body and immediately understood. "Are you saying that Mo Xiaoan was disappointed when he found out that there was nothing wrong with the first elder's body?" This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Grandfather, you are right. Mo Xiaoan must have been disappointed because the first elder's health is fine. The only reason he accompanied us to the main room was to find out about the first elder's health. The reason why Yun Chujio did not say it out loud and let Mo Shouting make his own guess was to make him more convinced. Mo Shouting sighed, "I didn't expect my family to be involved in this mess. But, what does this have to do with us returning to the East Continent?" "Grandfather, it's because of this mess that we have the chance to fish in troubled waters," Yun Chujio said with a smile. The reason she had made this guess was because she had noticed the change in Mo Zioan's expression, but more importantly, when she saw the great elder, Guai Chao was restless and expressed that he wanted to eat something good. After Yun Chujio suppressed the Guai Chao, she came back and asked what the Guai Chao smelled. After a few guesses, she finally confirmed that the great elder had taken a pill that could stimulate the Bodhi's potential in a short period of time. This kind of pill could be said to do more harm than good. For example, if one could originally live for 10 years, after taking this pill, they would probably have 7 to 8 years to live. Since the great elder had put in so much effort, it meant that he was extremely wary of Mo Xiaoan. It also indirectly meant that the conflict between the two families had worsened for nothing. Taking advantage of the situation. What do you want to do? Mo Xiaoting was a little uneasy and excited. In short, his emotions were complicated. Grandfather, we can forget about the fifth branch. We have fed them so much, yet they still treat us so slowly. Even if the second branch isn't good on the surface, it's not a big deal. Although the third and fourth branches haven't gone yet, they're probably the same as the second branch. They're not of much use. Our best choice is to hook up with the big branch. We have money, they have power. It's a great combination. Hook up. Mo Xiaoting was no longer in the mood to argue about Yun Chujia's choice of words. He said disapprovingly, "That's easy for you to say. The big house is a legitimate branch of the family. Why would they take a fancy to us? Mo Xiaoquan may be nice to us on the surface, but that's only on the surface. Mo Xiaoquan is obviously not a good candidate. That person is too conservative and doesn't have the ability to do great things. The person we want to hook up with is the first elder, the actual person in charge of the family." Yun Chujia's eyes flashed with cunningness. First elder? Fong Chao, you don't think that because you have obtained a pill furnace today, you think that the first elder will look at you differently, do you? You are too naive. Mo Xiaoting shook his head. Fong Chao was still too young and naive. Yun Chuzhou giggled, "Grandfather, I am not that stupid." We need to take things slowly. If we can't meet once, then we will meet twice. If we can't meet twice, then we will meet 3 times. If we can't meet 3 times, then we will meet every day. PANDNOVL, you just need to do as I say. Don't worry. Even if I can't hook up with the first elder, nothing will happen. The people in the fifth house simply think that I want to turn from a sparrow into a phoenix. Mo Xiaoting still felt that this matter was too mysterious. He sighed, "Fong Chao, even if what you say is true, will the first elder see you?" Yun Chuzhou curled her lips, "Grandfather, trust me. Others may not be able to see the first elder, but I will. Every time I go, he will see me." Mo Xiaoting felt that Yun Chuzhou had a fever. Not to mention her, even the fifth elder did not dare to say such words. How could he meet the first elder at will? This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Xiaoting glared at Yun Chuzhou. "Fong Chao, how can you meet the great elder just because you want to? Although everything you've said is correct, this path is not feasible. Grandfather, why don't we make a bet? After breakfast the day after tomorrow, you can bring me to the main room. I promise that the great elder will meet me," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Mo Xiaoting noticed that Yun Chuzhou sounded very confident. In addition, the temptation of returning to the East Continent was too great, so, he gritted his teeth, "All right, if you can't see the first elder the day after tomorrow, then you should behave yourself from now on. Don't cause any more trouble." After Yun Chuzhou nodded in agreement, the grandfather and grandson chatted as they ate. In the afternoon, Mo Yongfei accompanied them to the third branch of the Mo family. Just as Yun Chuzhou expected, the third branch treated Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou in the same way as the second branch. The two of them did not see the third elder either. As Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou bade farewell, Mo Xiaogui only asked them to stay for a short while. His attitude was very perfunctory. The next morning, the grandfather and grandson were treated the same way in the fourth branch of the Mo family. They did not see the fourth elder either. After chatting for a while, they left and returned to the fifth branch of the Mo family. Pan Dan 0 Vel. C0M. When no one was around, Yun Chuzhou whispered, "Grandfather, I'm a smart girl. Otherwise, these stingy people would not give us a single cent. We've suffered a huge loss. Mo Xiaoting was naturally uncomfortable being treated so slowly. He was even more concerned about Yun Chujia's plan. Fang Cao, will you really see the first elder tomorrow? Grandfather, don't worry. Which of the things I promised you haven't been fulfilled? However, when we arrive at the main room tomorrow, you will have to listen to some sarcasm and receive a few looks of disdain. You have to bear with it. Yun Chuzhou blinked. Although Mo Xiaoting was a sly old fox, they had common interests and they needed to maintain a good relationship. That's not a big deal. But, grandfather still feels that the first elder might not be willing to see you. If the first elder doesn't see you, don't mess around. Do you hear me? Mo Xiaoting warned worriedly. This Fang Chao was fearless. There was no way to predict what she would do in the next moment. After Yun Chujiu made her promise, she left Mo Xiaoting's courtyard and returned to her new moon pavilion. As soon as she entered the courtyard, she heard Mo Fangjiao say impatiently, Mo Fangjiao, where have you been? Why have you only just returned? Yun Chujiu was dumbfounded. Was Mo Fangjiao crazy? What the hell did she have to do with where I went? Was she addicted to my insults? Although she was complaining in her heart, her face was full of smiles as she said, Sister Fangjiao, why are you so free today? Why are you looking for me? Mo Fangjiao glared at her and asked, I heard that you fooled Mo Fangzhu yesterday. Yun Chujiu shook her head. Sister Fangjiao, how would I have the guts to fool Sister Fangzhu? I was just joking with her, but she got angry. Mo Fangjiao showed a gloating look on her face. Others have praised her for her good looks, wisdom, demure, but she was only a so-so. She was actually fooled by you. Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes and did not say anything. It seemed that not only did the older generation of this family fight fiercely, even Mo Fangjiao and the others did not get along with each other on the surface. The corners of this fellow's mouth curled up. Good, very good. This baby loves such chaotic situations the most. It's really fun. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Fangjiao asked Yun Chujiu some more details, and Yun Chujiu told her everything she knew. She imitated Mo Fangzhu's expression and language perfectly. Mo Fangjiao laughed until her flowers trembled, feeling very relieved. Mo Fangjiao, I didn't expect you to be so capable. Seeing that you made me so happy today, I'll give you a favor. Let me tell you, among the girls in the Mo family, you shouldn't provoke Sister Fangbing. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. Mo Fangjiao pouted. Sister Fangjiao, why don't I understand? I met Sister Fangbing when I went to visit her in the big room. Although she looked a little cold, she looked okay. Why did you say that she's hard to provoke? Yun Chujia's eyes flashed. She did not think that Mo Fangjiao would be so kind. Humph. You are indeed ignorant. Not only does Sister Fangbing have a high spiritual power, but her maternal family is a second-class family. Although her mother is the daughter of a concubine, she is also much taller than others. Therefore, Sister Fangbing looks like a fairy who does not live in the mortal world. In fact, she has never put us cousins in her eyes. Sister Fangbing heard Fang Qiao, who used to be in the fourth room, say a few nasty words to her. Sister Fangbing directly slapped her twice, and even threatened that if she heard it again, she would make Fang Qiao unable to speak. Mo Fangqiao, I heard that the Great Elder gave you an alchemy furnace. Sister Fangbing must be very uncomfortable and might find trouble with you. So you'd better not go to the Great Room in the future. If you go, Sister Fangbing might break your leg. Mo Fangjiao said in disdain, her words were full of provocation. Yun Chujiu secretly curled her lips. She felt that Mo Fangjiao was exaggerating. Mo Fangbing's mother was only a concubine daughter of a second-class family. What kind of extraordinary means could she have? If she was really so favored, the great elder would not choose to use the medicine of tigers and wolves to intimidate the other four chambers. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and understood Mo Fangjiao's intentions. Mo Fangjiao probably thought that she was a fool. Since she dared to tease Mo Fangzhu of the second branch, she might be persuaded by her and cause trouble for Mo Fangbing. She wondered if Mo Fangjiao was crazy. Did she think that everyone else was a fool? Of course, there was another possibility. Mo Xiaoan had instructed Mo Fangjiao to say this. The purpose was obvious. It was to make Guangshunzi stay away from the main branch and firmly control Guangshunzi in the hands of the fifth branch. Sister Fangjiao, thank you for your reminder. However, I feel that Sister Fangbing should be reasonable and won't target me for no reason. If she is really that unreasonable, Grandfather Shaoquan won't let her off. It just so happens that I have nothing to do tomorrow, so I'll let Grandfather bring me to the big house to visit again. I'd like to see if Sister Fangbing will target me. Yun Chujio said somewhat unwillingly. HMPH, since you don't listen to my advice, don't blame me if something happens in the future. Mo Fangjiao's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. This country bumpkin was indeed fooled. It would be better if she fought with Mo Fangbing. No matter who was the one who suffered the loss, it would be a relief. Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of Mo Fangjiao's expression and knew that it was the first possibility that she guessed. It was not Mo Zioan's instructions. This was also good. If this was the case, she would have an excuse to go to the main room tomorrow to avoid Mo Zioan's suspicion. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Fangjiao rambled on and on. The main content was that Mo Fangbing was not to be trifled with and she advised Yun Chujio not to seek humiliation. However, instead of persuading her, it was better to say that she was provoking her. When Mo Fangjiao saw that Yun Chujio could not wait to go and fight with Mo Fangbing, she was very pleased. HMPH, she was just a country bumpkin. The last time at the wedding banquet, she had been careless. Otherwise, this country bumpkin wouldn't have been able to make her suffer. After a while, Mo Fangjiao left the New Moon Pavilion satisfied. Yun Chujio looked at Mo Fangjiao's back and smiled. It was not bad to have such a smart-ass assistant. The next day, after breakfast, Mo Xiaoting sent a maid to inform Mo Xiaoan that Yun Chujio did not know much about alchemy, so he wanted to bring Yun Chujio to meet the first elder. Coincidentally, Mo Fangjiao came to pay her respects to Mo Xiaoan and old Madame Wang. Mo Fangjiao told Mo Xiaoan about what happened last night. Grandfather, I don't think Mo Fangjiao is going to meet the first elder. After all, the first elder can't possibly meet her. She must have been urged by me to find trouble with Sister Fangbing and lied to her grandfather to ask him about the pills. Mo Xiaoan stroked his beard. He felt that Mo Fangjiao's words made sense. How could he meet the great elder so easily? Mo Xiaoting was too easy to fool. He had actually been fooled by that little girl Mo Fangqiao. But, it didn't matter if they ran into a snag. That way, they would be even more loyal to their fifth wife. If Mo Fangqiao and Mo Fangbing were to fight, that would be even better. Mo Xiaoquan had previously said that he was going to teach him a lesson. Let's see how he would have the face to lecture others this time. Fangjiao, you've done well. You've really improved, Mo Xiaoan praised. Mo Fangjiao's face turned red as she said a few words of modesty in embarrassment. However, her heart was bursting with joy. This country bumpkin had brought her a lot of benefits. Meanwhile, Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chujio had already arrived outside the Mo family's main house. Since they had already been here once, the grandfather and grandson did not need someone from the fifth house to lead the way. Instead, they walked straight to the front door of the Mo family's house. The guards from the main house had seen Mo Xiaoting and Yun Chuzhou before, so they were quite polite. After bowing, they went in to report. Mo Xiaoquan couldn't help but frown when he heard the guards report. What was Guang Xuanji doing here again? Was it because he didn't eat last time that he wanted to make up for it this time? Mo Xiaoquan pursed his lips. He was indeed a small-minded person. But, since he was already here, he couldn't just shut the door. He suppressed the impatience in his heart and allowed his son, Mo Yongji, to invite the grandfather and grandson to the living room. Big brother, I have a presumptuous request for you this time. Feng Chao has been stuck with a difficult alchemy problem for the past few days and she had to beg me to bring her here to meet uncle. What do you think? Mo Xiaoting braced himself and said the lines that Yun Chuzhou had prepared for him. Mo Xiaoquan couldn't help but frown. This Mo Xiaoting was really arrogant. Did he think that anyone could meet his father just because they wanted to? Did he think that just because his father gave the little girl a pill furnace, he would treat her differently? He really didn't know his own limits. As Mo Xiaoquan thought of this, his expression darkened as he said, Brother Xiaoting, it's not that I'm unreasonable. It's just that father is very busy and old. If Feng Chao has any questions regarding alchemy, I can help her find an alchemist to answer them. Don't worry, our house will take care of the binding. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Xiaoting's face turned red. He could naturally tell that Mo Xiaoquan was taunting him. If Yun Chuzhou had not warned him beforehand, he would have left with a flick of his sleeve. Big brother, you've misunderstood me. Our Guangshanzi can still take the responsibility. It's mainly because this Feng Chao girl has already set her eyes on uncle. I have no choice, Mo Xiaoting said with a sigh. Yun Chuzhou knew it was time for her to go on stage, so, she smiled and said, Grandfather Xiaoquan, you may not know this, but after I return home, my mind is filled with the teachings of the Great Elder. I just want to see the Great Elder one more time. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep or eat in peace. It's like I've lost my soul. The corners of Mo Xiaoquan and Mo Yongji's eyes twitched. This Mo Feng Chao was really thick-skinned. But, it was understandable. She must have wanted the Great Elder to have a favorable impression of her, she might even be able to stay in the Eastern continent. Her ambition was quite high. Mo Xiaoquan's expression turned even colder, Feng Chao, I will pass on your filial piety. As for the pill, forget it, Pan Dn 0 Vel, Com Mo Xiaoting wished he could find a hole and hide in it. He had said that it wouldn't work, yet this Feng Chao had said that it would work. But, now that she had been rebuked, what was she going to do? Yun Chuzhou sighed, alright, since Grandfather Xiaoquan has said so, as a junior, I can't force it. However, I have refined some pills for great-grandfather to strengthen his body and bones. I hope Grandfather Xiaoquan can help me pass them on to him as a show of filial piety. Mo Xiaoquan felt disdain in his heart, but he forced a smile on his face, Feng Chao's filial piety is commendable. Don't worry, I will definitely pass them on to father. Mo Xiaoting received Yun Chuzhi's glance. Although he was a little confused, he still said, Big brother, Feng Chao and I still have some other matters to attend to. I won't disturb you any longer. We will take our leave now. Mo Xiaoquan did not try to convince him to stay for a while, then he let the two of them leave. After leaving the house, they arrived at a relatively remote corner. Mo Xiaoting's face was dark as he said unhappily, Feng Chao, didn't you say that the first elder would definitely meet you? Why did you change your mind midway? Grandfather, of course we have to put bait first when fishing. We are here to put bait. Don't worry, the big fish will bite sooner or later. Don't worry. Let's go and have a good stroll. You can't stay in the mansion all the time. Yun Chujio did not care about Mo Xiaoting's dark expression. He was very confident. She was now a cash cow, so the most Mo Xiaoting could do was give her some face. He wouldn't do anything to her. As expected, Mo Xiaoting glared at her and did not say anything else. The grandfather and grandson arrived at West City. As soon as the merchants in West City saw Yun Chujio, they all smiled and said obsequiously, "Miss Fang Chao, you're here. Miss Fang Chao, come visit our silk shop. Miss Fang Chao, our snack shop has a new batch of delicious food. Come in and have a look. It'll give you a 10% discount." Mo Xiaoting was dumbfounded. But, he quickly thought of the gift and understood. These people must have thought that Fang Chao was here to purchase more food, that's why they were so enthusiastic. Yun Chujio had always been good at acting. She smiled as she chatted with everyone. Not long after, she became friends with the shopkeepers. It was as if she was one of the shopkeepers on the street. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.